Hey everyone, welcome to GameFace episode 154. We're a little out of sorts here. The NPD report was just dropped right before we kicked off the show, so we're kind of scrambling to get that information. Got a great show for you guys today. We actually had a really great week among the Sifted Massive. We had our Sifted 2019 Summit last Thursday. As a group of about 70 or 80 of us got together and talked about the future of Sifted. Some really, really great ideas came out of it. I want to thank everybody who participated. It was very, very helpful, very constructive, very productive. Since we had the summit, I've had a number of people reach out to me about a lot of the things that we discussed, sent me emails or DMs and things like that. So there are big changes coming, folks. We're going to completely revamp and redo our Patreon. That should be happening in the next couple days. I should have some time to really dig into it and start making some changes. We have some content changes coming up as well. We're going to focus a lot more on GameFace and Pactor Factor, trying to get those out there and do a better job on YouTube as far as getting stuff up in a more timely manner and a quicker manner. Speaking of which, folks on YouTube who are watching the show, thank you, first of all. Second of all, if you can't afford to contribute to our Patreon, which I would really appreciate it if you could, even if you could just kick us $1 a month. If we have the numbers at $1 a month, it could really make a difference for us. But if you can't do that, please, in the description, you can find the instructions on how to subscribe to us via Twitch Prime. It's very easy. Literally, it takes like 3 minutes when you do it the first time. Once you set it up, it is one click. You just have to go back every month to give us that one click, to give us a free $2.50. It can make a big, big difference for us. So please, YouTube folks, help us out if you can. We'd really appreciate it. Anyway, back to the summit. There's big changes coming to Sifted, not in pretty much every way. The website itself, I think, was one part of the summit that we never really got much closure on, and I haven't heard anything from anybody reaching out saying, hey, this is something I might be interested in. But we found people who want to do our social media, which is great. I've had a couple really long discussions with some sifters about some insights that they have from where they work professionally. So it was really, really good, really productive. You're going to see some changes definitively from that on Sifted and on our YouTube channel. So with that, did you get a chance to look at the NPD stuff by any chance?
Not much of it.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk very quickly about the NPDs before we roll on with the show that we have planned for you guys. Because obviously this is big stuff, and a week from now it won't matter. So we want to talk about it now. The big news, I guess, is just Switch. Switch has become the top-selling console for 2018. It also won December after winning November. I think in November, didn't it sell like PS4 and Xbox One combined? Didn't outsell them?
I don't know. It definitely did that in December. I don't know about November.
Yeah. And a big part of it is, one, the Switch has great software. It had Smash, it had Pokemon, so it had the software to do it. But I think also is what you're seeing, the decline of the PS4 and the Xbox One. It's like, who doesn't have one at this point that wants one? So it's kind of a perfect storm for Nintendo right now.
Yeah. Well, especially because the time to get a PlayStation was Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
When the Spider-Man bundle hit.
And when there were just tons of deals around Black Friday and things like that. And then the other part of it too is that, you know, it's a perfect vortex for Nintendo right now. They're going up. The other guys are going down, and they're meeting at that crux right there where they can continue on up while the other guys start thinking about PS5 and Xbox 2 and things like that. So Nintendo is in a perfect place right now. I guess the question is, can it keep the software coming? And if it does, it should stay on this trajectory for quite a while. There doesn't look like there's any hard numbers, though, as far as how much Switch sold.
Well, we usually don't get those too much. Maybe they'll start to pop out as more people who get the report quietly leak it out. But
yeah, it says here, Nintendo Switch generated the highest December month hardware dollar sales for a single platform since the Wii in December of 2009. So that's pretty impressive. To even flirt with the Wii's success during that time period is a pretty big deal. However, that is total dollars. And that was one thing that the fanboys were going back and forth with over November. It was, okay, well, it was Nintendo, we're talking dollar amounts here, not actual consoles sold. So in November, obviously, with all those Black Friday deals, PlayStation and Xbox didn't generate a ton of money because they chopped $100 off of the console. So I think console-wise, PS4 actually outsold Switch in November as far as the number of consoles sold. But when you talk about the amount of money generated, Nintendo comes out on top. And I don't know if that's the case for December or not.
I don't know, but this article on VentureBeat does say that for the entire year, for all of 2018, the Switch came out on top in both units and dollars.
Okay.
So maybe not for December, but for all of 2018, Nintendo sold the most units and made the most money.
That's great. But there are no hard numbers.
Annual units and dollar sales of Switch are the highest annual total for a hardware platform since PlayStation 4 in 2015, which is, if you'll recall, was the wildfire year for the PlayStation 4.
That was the sweet spot for the PS4. We're kind of hitting the sweet spot for Switch
is hitting
right
its
now.
point. Although I think that for Switch is going to kind of straddle 2018 and 2019, because 2019, fingers crossed, should have a better overall software lineup.
I think for us it will.
Yeah.
I think for the casuals, probably not so much.
Yeah.
Because we're all over things like Metroid Prime and stuff like that, and Animal Crossing will do very well.
Animal Crossing is one of, people don't realize it, but Animal Crossing is one of Nintendo's top 4.
It's one of its pillars. Absolutely. Yeah, people don't realize it because it's one of those quiet games that people don't talk a lot about.
In terms of just sales numbers, and you're pretty much looking at Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, Splatoon at this point. Those are your top 5 Nintendo franchises right now.
It's not Metroid. Metroid does not generally sell all that well.
Metroid has never been, no.
So they've got Metroid, they got
but I don't think
Animal
Metroid
Crossing,
is this year.
They got a legit Pokemon.
Yeah, legit Pokemon will help, especially
Luigi's Mansion 3.
Especially in the wake of Detective Pikachu.
Yep. Luigi's Mansion 3. What else?
I don't know. There's got to be a couple more things.
Fire Emblem.
Yeah, the Fire Emblem.
It looks like they might have a pretty good game for every month this year.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see the early to mid part of 2018 was a little sparse. I don't think you're going to see that so much this year. And even if you do, a couple places you're going to have the software sales are not a concern for the Switch. Software sales do really well. The question was always moving more hardware, and they did. I mean, we'll see.
We don't have the numbers.
Don't have any numbers, so you can't tell. It's hard to say if you beat PlayStation 4 because PlayStation 4 did really well, but Switch did even better, or because everybody. But most stuff is year over year seems to be an improvement, especially accessories.
Hardware up year over year, like 8% or something.
Accessories year over year for December is 29%.
That's crazy.
It's the first time it's ever hit $1 billion.
That's crazy.
For accessories.
What are they buying?
Switch stuff.
Really?
I promise. Remember when I said? Yeah. Remember when I said the whole point of the Switch is to sell you overpriced accessories? That it's working.
It's working. Joy-Cons are crazy expensive, man. I can't believe how much they charge for those things. But we don't have any hard numbers yet as far as how many Nintendo sold. So
I would guess that would probably pop out tomorrow or later tonight.
Yeah, it's funny. It's become kind of this meta thing to follow if Nintendo's going to hit this 20 million target.
Yeah, right there. The gamepad. Piscatella in the article says gamepad spending gains were the primary driver of the increase. The Nintendo Switch Pro controller was the month's best-selling accessory in dollar sales.
That makes sense.
So that's from the VentureBeat article.
So for November, I think Nintendo had sold, 2 million?
NPD analyst Matt Piscatella. That's quoted in the VentureBeat article.
Yeah. And I think in November, Nintendo sold, 2 million Switches, I think it was?
I don't remember. That sounds about
right.
It
was around there. So I'm guessing they probably did the same, maybe a little more in December with Smash.
Probably closer to 3 million just for Christmas gift buying.
December's a big month for Nintendo.
Yeah,
every year.
Always is.
Yeah,
that's why remember at the beginning of the year the Pachter factor that everybody makes fun of, where he said 8 million. They were on track to sell 8 million, but he specifically says they're on track to sell 8 million. What they've sold so far, you cannot predict the holiday bump, which is going to happen. So all he could say at the time was, "This is what they're tracking to do. That is not what they're going to sell, because you have to wait and see what the bump for the holiday is." And the holiday bump was significant.
Because the last figure we got was 5 million for the fiscal so far.
Going into the holiday season, it was 5.1 million sold.
So they
for the
did
year.
2 in November. So that gets you to 7.
Yeah, I don't think the 5.1 million included October, which wasn't a huge month, but it's still that's still numbers.
It counts. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 point. I mean, they're probably. I mean, also, are we talking worldwide at that point? Or
I don't think it is.
I think this is just U.S.
Yeah, U.S.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, my guess would be that they're closing in on 15 million.
You think?
For the year worldwide?
The worldwide.
Yeah.
U.S., they're probably around 10 or 11, I'm guessing, right now.
Yeah.
And getting another 8, 9 million out of the next 3 months, that's going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, but regardless, holy cow, Nintendo's doing amazing. Also, another game that's doing amazing is Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yep.
For the first time in I don't know how long, a
5
game
years.
outsold Call of Duty.
It's the first time since 2013 that Call of Duty hasn't been the best-selling game of the year.
Yep, and not only that, this year has a good
And
Call of Duty.
guess what the best-selling game in 2013 was?
Oh, Red Dead?
Grand Theft
Grand
Auto.
Theft Auto. I should have known that. That was dumb.
So yeah, basically, unless you're Rockstar,
You have no chance.
Forget about it.
It's impressive, though.
Yeah,
I mean, without
especially
a doubt.
for what before 2018 probably would not have been considered one of Rockstar's mainline huge series, but they
Yeah.
turned it into it.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
made it happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, what I was saying earlier is that it's a good Call of Duty game too. It's not like Ghosts or something
Right.
where like half the user base is kind of like, like people love Black Ops 4. I love Black Ops 4.
yeah, I think the article VentureBeat and a couple other articles I've been looking at here say that it was close.
Yeah.
It was real close, and to the point that on Twitter there was some speculation that if Black Ops had a PC or if Black Ops had a PC version,
I think it does have a PC.
It does have a PC version.
Yeah. They just usually don't count those in NPDs because
Yeah.
they don't sell box copies of.
Right, because there's
PC
no
versions,
physical.
yeah.
So that might, who knows if you count everything.
Yeah, I mean, keeping in mind that NPD never counts digital. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just something that it never does.
Which is, which makes me wonder what the actual Smash Brothers total is,
Right.
because I feel like that was a pretty strong digital seller.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's the kind of game you don't want to have to switch cartridges for. You want to just be able to start it up. I bought it digitally.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably did. But yeah, congratulations to Nintendo. Well deserved. They had a great lineup in
And the
Q4.
same is probably true of Black Ops.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, and we rarely ever get the digital totals.
No, because that's proprietary information for the first parties, and why would
Yeah.
they want to share that?
I mean, eventually they will say, like probably months from now, they'll be like,
Yeah.
Call of Duty has sold 12
Right,
million.
like
or
Activision or Rockstar will eventually brag that
Yeah.
like we've sold a total of this many,
Right.
but like you still won't know how that breaks down or how that relates to the NPD in the end.
Yeah.
But in the end, I would not say, it is entirely possible that you could in the end see the totals that Activision puts up from Call of Duty be bigger than that of Red Dead Redemption.
I also wonder too if this is like the first time I can remember Sony kind of not doing great in November and December, and I wonder if finally,
They did do great in November though.
yeah, I mean, for a console that's 6 years old,
Yeah, but they sold more units in November
they did.
because of that Spider-Man deal.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if this is the first time we've kind of seen Sony get pinched for not really having a Q4 lineup. Because
Somewhat.
Sony never really does. Like the last several years, there hasn't really been a blockbuster game that came
Well,
out.
they don't even have anything lined up at
Right,
this
right.
point. Like,
We don't even know what we're going to be playing this year.
Like if you bought a PlayStation in the last month, you bought it because you want to play something that's already out.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Not something that
wasn't
just
in
came out.
preparation for something else. I mean, I'm sure there's people that would. I don't know. I don't know if you're interested in Death Stranding. I don't know if you don't already have a PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
But the 2019 is such a giant blank for Sony beyond Days Gone, presumably Dreams. That like, what's your hype?
I mean,
and they're not even going to be at E3.
I mean, the crazy part is it has never hurt Sony in the past. I mean,
Right.
it has not had a big Q4 game. I don't know if it's ever had one for the PS4. Can you think of any?
Not that wasn't multi-platform and just sort of lead platform. They don't do a lot of huge Q4 stuff.
Yeah, they get all their stuff out before then.
Yeah, they front weight the year with their exclusives a lot because that's where you need
Yeah.
the balance. I mean, even Last of Us was June.
Because they have so much third-party support, they don't really have to prop up Q4. They can let the
Yeah.
third parties have their way with it. So, but this may be the first year where we maybe saw people eyeing up the lineups and saying, wait a minute, there's nothing really new for PS4, and here's Smash and Pokemon, and plus now I can get Mario and Zelda and whatever else that they're into. So congratulations to Nintendo, well-deserved. They've done a great job with that platform, and congratulations to Rockstar for finally dethroning Call of Duty. That is no small feat. And I will say this, the marketing for Red Dead Redemption 2 is just relentless. Relentless. I cannot go a day without seeing either a print ad on Twitter or some website or watching TV and seeing a commercial. Still. Like, the amount of money that Take-Two puts behind one game, it must just dwarf any other publisher. I mean, the entire holiday season, sitting around watching TV with the family, it was just Red Dead over. can't tell how many times random people were like, "Is that any good?" Because they've seen the commercial so many times that they're like, "Is that any good?" They're like, "Here's Game Dude that I know. Maybe he could tell me if this game is any good." Like, they all are aware of it, which is pretty crazy for like my family, for them to know about a game. It just hardly ever happens. So Rockstar's marketing, it knows how to do it. And it will, I guarantee we'll see ads for this probably 3-4 months from now, still running on television. The same one, too. I've seen that same Red Dead ad so many stinking times.
Yeah, well, they only need to put the one up and just saturate NFL broadcasts with it.
Yeah, it works, obviously.
And NBA.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So there you go. Congratulations. We'll probably get more details over the next day or two. And as always, you'll be able to find that at sifted.net. So let's get on with the show that we had planned and pre-produced for today. The first game we're going to talk about is Ace Combat 7. Probably the biggest, definitely the biggest. In fact, probably the only big game that's come out over the last week.
Yeah.
A couple indies here and there. But
a couple indies in the port of New Super Mario Brothers. That's about it.
And we talked about that last week. So biggest game of the week, undoubtedly, Ace Combat 7. Was kind of the poster child for PlayStation VR when the marketing was revving up for PlayStation VR. In every montage,
it was definitely the one that you could look at in the lineup of the early VR stuff, PlayStation VR stuff, and be like, "Oh, look, a real game."
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
and we'll get to the VR part of Ace Combat in a minute, but let's talk about kind of the core experience. Matt, you are a huge Ace Combat fan, and so from a fan's perspective, how are you feeling about it?
It's great. Like, it's Ace Combat back again after 12 years of basically dormancy, because there were 2 Ace Combat console Ace Combat games in the meantime, but Assault Horizon was a weird bastardized hybrid where they tried to make it more like Call of Duty, and like there was a lot of almost QTE style dogfighting tricks. Like you could you'd to catch up with guys, you had to do a button combo, and there was they spent a lot of time making you fly helicopters, which is not what we're here to do. It was very weird. And then Ace Combat Infinity was a free-to-play online game that was pretty legitimately Ace Combat, but just the grind was really hard and long, and if you weren't willing to spend, you were just not going to unlock much very long, and so you were just playing the same missions over and over again. And the co-op was fun, but a couple times they did some cool events. They did an event where Godzilla and Mechagodzilla showed up, and you had to team up with people and shoot them and blow them up. That was fun, but
it's not like the series is rooted in realism.
No, not at all. But this is the return to the classic. We have, it takes place in Strange Real, the alternate world that they've taken place in since Ace Combat 4. It covers some weird, overly melodramatic conflict between 2 nations whose names sound suspiciously similar. The CG cutscenes are basically soap operas that have almost nothing to do with the actual game you're playing.
I couldn't follow the plot in this game hardly at all.
It's very.
And I could not figure out how it related to anything.
It's just. It's not as the issue with. With the story in this is that it's not as over the top as 6 was. 6 goes just balls to the walls, soap opera melodrama. The dialogue is cheesy beyond all recognition. The catchphrase of people running around saying "Go dance with the angels, mister" is the killer insult, and you're like, what are you talking about? And it was, most of it is this blonde woman trying to find her daughter, walking as a refugee through streets and monologuing endlessly about the nature of existence and stuff. There's nothing that fun in this one. It's more of a straightforward war story.
I obviously haven't played them as much as you have, but I have played a lot of them. And the one thing I would say about the Ace Combat stories before is that they were so bad that they were good.
Yeah.
It was so off kilter and weird and non sequitur that I still enjoyed the stories because I would laugh along at them. But this game, the story, it's not so bad that it's good.
Right. It's just sort of mildly bad. And I
don't know. I'd go past mildly, I think.
Well, if you're used to basically anime stories, this is what it is.
Yeah,
and
that's true. Which is worse than moderately bad, in my opinion.
And there's still some fun stuff. I don't think they're intentionally fun things. like early on, there's a I don't know if you got it in like footage, but there's a cutscene with a princess of the kingdom that's invading the good guy country. She goes to visit these girls at this airstrip, and she comes down to see them, and there's a dog with them, but the long shot of her talking to the girls is like a CG cutscene of the girls talking to each other, and there's just this still photo of a dog
just pasted
just pasted onto and it's real obvious. Like, it's super, like, the dog is just sitting there not moving. It's just a photo of a dog, and I'm like, that is hilarious. I don't know why that's there or why they decided. I mean, I guess it's better than like a terrible model of a dog like slapped in there, but it's like, you're not fooling anyone, if put it that way.
Now the story is about like this girl who is a pilot who gets captured and goes to prison.
Partly. She built a plane and
with her dad or grandpa,
and then the first time she takes it up, the Erusians invade her country and shoot her down, and she gets captured as a POW and taken to basically a camp where they
make fake planes.
They make her make fake planes, which is a real thing.
I know.
That's a real thing, like a fake base
like
with
props,
inflatable
to get people to attack it.
Yeah, and of course at one point you do. And the way that the interesting thing here is that, like, usually the stories in these games barely intersect at all with the gameplay missions, but in this, early on, an inexplicable plot twist happens where you try to rescue the president of your country from a space elevator, and he gets shot down, and all your wingmates blame you.
Yeah, is there any way to complete that mission without?
No, that's the plot point. Like, that's the whole plot of the rest of the game. Is like your character gets sent to the same prison as the girl from the cutscenes, and at one point the enemy attacks that fake base, and you get sent up to essentially make it look like you're actually putting up resistance, but you're so good at what you do that everyone's like, whoa, we should have this guy fighting for. It's like you did fight for them, but it doesn't make any sense because, like, if you really had shot the missiles and shot down the president's like evac thing, like your flight recorder would say that, like you'd be able to tell.
I actually did shoot it down,
but I don't think you're supposed to be able to do that. So it's one of those like really weird contrived things that Ace Combat stories are basically all about.
Yeah, I guess the bottom line is the story is not going to motivate you to keep playing.
No, I mean it shouldn't. It never has.
Yeah.
But like, and the this is the cutscene with the dog. If we eventually get to it,
we'll keep our eyes open.
No, maybe this is the other guy. That guy is in it though. So, and like the thrust of like kind of like the twist on this in terms of mission design is that the Erusians use a lot of drone fighters.
The word drone is used a lot in the script in this game.
In fact, I believe the Reset Era thread about this game is called Game of Drones.
That makes sense, yeah.
So yeah, drones and UAVs are a big factor. The Erusians capture a bunch of experimental drones, and which is what that big flying wing that was dropping the white drones out of it was.
Yeah.
And so there's a big kind of theme in this game of manned flight versus unmanned flight.
Yeah, they talk about it constantly.
Yeah, there's one of the wingmen is just hates drones and doesn't gets offended when the AWACS guys bring up that there's drones coming. He's like, you're just gonna tell me there's drones coming and not apologize? I'm like, no, why would you? I'm sorry that reality involves drones, dude.
Yeah, the in-cockpit banter gets old real fast, particularly because, and this is a good way for us to segue into the way the game plays, you're going to end up playing these missions several times before you, at least for me, several times before you complete them. So when you boot the game up, it defaults to easy difficulty. And that never happens. And I booted it up and I was like, what? I'm like, who puts their game on easy by default? So I put it on normal. Now I see why it was set to easy by default.
Yeah, I do think...
this game is hard, people.
I do think this is the hardest game in the series. It's never been a super hard series if you're you got a handle on kind of how air combat works. It's not a sim by any stretch of imagination.
Not.
But you do need to know kind of basic air combat tactics. So the two reasons I would say it's hard is A, they're much more the enemies are much more active about shooting missiles at you and not giving you a break. So
it's just missile.
There are
missile,
points where
missile the whole time.
So there are points when you are going to just be spending a lot of your time like breaking off what you're trying to do to dodge.
Yeah. So if you're watching this footage right now, you're probably watching like, what the hell is Shane doing? I am dodging missiles. You can't hear the audio, but when you play this game, literally, once you're engaged, until you finish the engagement, it's just missile, beep, 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 missile, beep, 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 missile.
The other reason it's hard is it's the first game in the series that I'm aware of that does not have a training mode.
Yeah, and it does a terrible job of teaching you. Like, I played the first 4 missions without ever realizing that I had to hit triangle to lock on enemies. Mm-hmm. Because the game does a terrible job of teaching you anything.
It very much assumes that you've played them before, which is weird for a game that I assume is going to be one of the most widely played games in the series.
For sure,
I mean, just because of the nature of when it's coming out and, that people have heard of it.
Yeah, it's been 7 years as well since the last one came
Every
out.
other Ace Combat has very extensive tutorial sections where it teaches you how to go up and down, and then teaches you how to, then it's a separate
this
tutorial.
This game does teach you that. It teaches you the basics.
But it doesn't even, but I'm talking about like you had separate things that taught you every individual basic thing about every individual way that the planes operate, and what this means and what that does and how to do this and how to do that. And this, you get a little yellow text thing that pops up at the top that maybe you see, maybe you don't.
Yeah.
And I know how to do all this stuff, so it wasn't really bothering me. But like, if you've never played these games before, like, I don't know how you're getting. Like, for instance, do you know how to do a high G turn?
Yeah.
Like, it tells you that once.
It did tell me that.
Like, and there is dialogue that indicates, you guys know how to do a high G turn. You do that, and it's like so. But if you don't know how to do that, if you miss that, you're not dodging many missiles.
Yeah.
Like, that's key to dodging missiles, is waiting for them to kind of get right up on you and then high G out of their way.
I didn't have any problem dodging missiles at all. Like, I never even really used, like, my chaff. Like, you get 5 of them per ship or whatever.
Flares are only for, like, really high. And, like, if you get later on when you're up against, like, the stealth fighters with the variable nozzles where they can, like, literally 180 in midair, like, then you're gonna have I've had like 5 missiles on me at once, and I'm just like, okay, I just gotta blow the flares and hope that they all go for that, and usually it works, but you don't get a lot of flares in this game. Like,
5.
You get 5, and you used to get more in the old ones, as I recall.
But really, just to get rid of missiles, like, you can just bank turn, or you can even just go up and down. It just
sometimes
it's so annoying.
It depends what's being shot at you. Like, SAMs are not very accurate, so you can sort of just bank around while you're doing ground targets. But if you got like MiG-31s on you and they fire something and you don't actually work to dodge it, at least to do a hard bank, like, it's going to tag you.
If I concentrate on not getting hit by missiles, I won't get hit by missiles. But after a while, the game just wears you down. Like, I got so sick of dodge. I felt like what I was doing probably 60 to 70% of the time I was playing was just dodging missiles, because they're just non-stop.
Yep. Well, that's part of the thing with, like, the drones in this, because, like, the real missile dodging bonanzas are when they throw fleets of the drones at you, because the drones can just, like, do the advantage of unmanned aerial vehicles is they can pull maneuvers that would make a human pilot pass out, basically. And so they're doing stuff that you can't keep up with. They're doing stuff that, like, you're like, well, he just passed me head on. How has he already got a lock on me? It's because he was able to just flip the thing around and go to guns on you. Because
people are locked on to you like the whole game.
Yeah.
Like the whole game.
It's you are always working to keep track of defense versus offense, which in the previous games, especially 6, as long as you were still moving, you were probably not going to get locked onto all that often. Like, sometimes you pick somebody up, and all you do is you switch your target, flip around, get them off you, or command your wingmen to help you. Wingmen are not as big a deal in this game, in part because, like, you're at one point branded a traitor, and so there's not a lot of, like, squadron communication happening. Ace Combat 6 had a big emphasis on commanding your wingmen and telling them to do other things.
You could actually take control of what they were doing.
So there are changes to that, and here you see there's a bunch of drones literally blocking
your missiles from hitting
the key target. That's happened a couple times, which is cool. I mean, that's a real thing they'll do in theory.
In theory,
but so yeah, it's I like it. It's Ace Combat.
I've enjoyed it in parts. I don't know. I'm like on mission 12, and I think you said there's 20
There's 20
missions.
missions, yeah.
There's no way I'm going to finish this game.
It's it's what I wanted. I love jet combat stuff, especially arcade with more of an arcade angle on it. So it's exactly what I wanted. I wish the story was a little more gonzo.
Either
like 6
better
was.
or worse.
Right.
It's
Right.
like in this weird middle ground.
Right. Either make it like full. Basically, they had to pick a lane, and they ended up just sort of driving down the center divider.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't make anybody happy, I feel. Music's great. Music's always great in this series.
I hardly even noticed it, to be honest.
It's fairly pretty. I think it's a little odd that there's no HDR. Like if you're playing it in like 4K, or there's no HDR, it doesn't go to 4K. It's 1080p.
It's a pretty game,
which
definitely.
is because they're trying to get the frame rate up. I would say that if you do not have a Pro or an X, pass, because they play poorly on those.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't know. I mean, you've been playing on a standard.
No, I got a Pro for Christmas.
You got a Pro.
Yeah.
That's right. The frame rate
And it does incorporate super
frame rate's
sampling.
not great on standard PS4, and it is the whole performance is abysmal on a vanilla Xbox One.
Really?
I mean, I don't expect too many people watching this are playing on an Xbox One,
Especially an
vanilla
OG
primarily.
one. Although
Right.
I still am. I still only have an OG Xbox.
So I would say and even the Xbox One X version is mostly better because of the raw horsepower. It's not designed to take advantage of that. If you watch the Digital Foundry video, they run all this down very clearly, and you can make a more educated decision. In the end, I went with the PS4 Pro version.
That's what I'm playing.
The other thing is the PlayStation 4. Both games come with an old Ace Combat. So if you get the PS4 version, you get a actually really nice updated version of Ace Combat 5, which I would argue is the best game in the series. If you get the Xbox One, you get Ace Combat 6, which is also now backwards compatible. If you have a disc version of the 360 version, you stick it in the Xbox now, it will work. With upres and the whole thing. If you bought it digitally, I don't think they've sent the codes out for that, but they said it'll have the. Here's the trick on those: if you care about those the 5 and 6, one or the other or both, they go away after, I believe, February 18th, and Namco has said they will never sell them separately. So, especially for Ace Combat 5, if you want Ace Combat 5 on your PS4, find a way to get this game before February 18th.
I think we should mention again, though, that this game is really challenging.
Yeah.
And I would recommend playing it on easy. I wish, in hindsight, that I had listened to Bandai Namco and played it with what they had set it up for. I probably maybe would make it through the game on easy. I don't know.
I don't find it that hard. I'm playing on normal. I feel like hard would be very hard. I have been shot down several times. I've been shot down more in this game probably than I have in the last 3 Ace Combats combined. It's definitely the hardest game in the series, in my opinion.
It's not even that I get shot down. It's that like a lot of missions have conditions. It's like you have to take out all these planes before these planes escape. Or you have to take out all these planes within a time limit. And what happens is, because the other thing that I would say about this game is I spend probably 40% of my playtime not even watching the screen, but just looking at the radar. Because it's a dogfighting game, so you're always trying to get behind the enemy. So you just look at your radar for that red dot, and I'm just watching the radar playing, just trying to get myself oriented so I'm behind the enemies, and then I'll look at the screen, spot the enemies, lock on, and take them down.
So that's interesting. I almost never look at the radar.
I literally used, this part you have to, like this weird stealth crap that's in here where you have to fly between like the radar things.
Oh yeah, that thing is for sure.
But I literally play.
Like tracking enemy planes, I use the target locator.
See, it took me forever to even figure out how the target. I didn't figure out till you told me because the game doesn't explain it. Like I was like, why? Because what happened was I was like, I don't understand why my missiles will never lock on. Like I've literally had this guy dead to rights for like 30 seconds.
And I thought I didn't even understand what you were saying. I thought you were having range problems because the range on standard missile lock-on range in this game is like a third of what it was in the old games.
Well, the reason I couched it that way was because I didn't know what was going on. Like I was like, wait a minute, maybe my missiles just aren't locking because they don't have the range. And then I watched some crazy expert play this game on YouTube, which blew my freaking mind. Like, if you want to have some fun, play this game for a little bit, and then go watch any videos from YouTube channel an Ace Combat fan. And this guy plays this game. It's like it's a different game. It blew my mind. And I started watching him play, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, he's locking onto ships like nothing. And that's when I texted you, and I'm like, what is going on here? I'm missing something. And sure enough, I was. And that was you needed to tap triangle, or on Xbox Y, to lock on to the ships. And once I did that, the game became, like, the mission that I was stuck on, finished first try after I found that. And then the next mission I finished in like 2 or 3 tries. But, like, after that, the missions just started becoming really challenging. And then they started repeating, like, the objectives. It's like after I did, like, my second, like, escort mission, I was like, I don't really want to do any of these anymore. And then all kind of the mission style started cycling and repeating over, and that's where I just kind of lost interest.
There's only so many things planes do.
Yeah, you're right. So. I mean, it's just a limitation of the subject matter. I've had some fun playing this game. I would not pay money for this game. I'm very glad that and thankful that Bandai Namco sent this to me, because if I had paid money for it, I think I would have regretted it. I don't know. I don't have enough expertise in Ace Combat like you do to say it's like the best or the worst in series history. I would say I roughly enjoyed it about as much as the other Ace Combat games that I've played. I played it for roughly about the same length as other Ace Combat games, so I guess it snared me just about as much as the other ones.
I'd say it's no 5, but I would say gameplay-wise and mission-wise, it's on par with 6.
The gameplay's good. Like, the controls are good. It feels right. It feels accurate. The aiming reticle makes sense. While you're actually in the dogfights, it's a fun game to play. But then things kind of start looping around, and things get increasingly more difficult, and I just kind of lost interest after a while.
Like, if you're into if you're into the plane stuff, this is and you like
it's
the
like
old Ace Combat.
Jet porn. I mean, it really is.
If you like the old Ace Combat, it's exactly what you're expecting, exactly what you want.
Ships look great. Like, you really get a good idea.
I would
of
also
scale.
say, if you've never played this, I mean, all the footage here is captured in third person. Play it in first person. Like, this game should be played with no cockpit, but just the HUD first person.
You're sitting on the front of the plane, basically.
Pretty much, because it makes it basically like hood cam.
It's hood cam.
Forza.
Before we move on, what about the VR stuff? Because this was obviously a big kind of the poster child for PlayStation VR early on. How is it?
VR is great. The problem is there's only 3 missions and it's over in about 30 minutes.
Wow! After all that, 30 minutes of content.
Well, originally back in the day they said 5 to 7 missions. We ended up with 3. They're all really good. They're very different. The first one is sort of a just take off from the carrier and then dogfight a bunch of guys. The second one is basically a ground defense mission. So there's a lot of ground targets and then air targets.
I hate those missions.
And then the third one is you're after a particular large target in a mountainous area, and you get jumped by stealth fighters who are the hardest things in the game. And that one is just like pure dogfighting skills, which is pretty great. But they're all about 10 minutes long if you don't die. And I got shot down by the stealth fighters a couple times, so that was it. And but I mean, everything's great. Like, it's not quite this. It's not the same as the mainline mission. So you can only play as an F-18.
The Hornet, right?
Yeah, it's fully modeled cockpit, fully modeled pilot body. You can look down and see yourself. The pilot's hands operate the controls the way you're moving them, like in terms of steering with the stick, throttle, and moving his feet for yaw, like for the rudders.
Cool. Yeah.
You can look around. There's like the lighting effects on the canopy are really good. And it uses the modern, obviously it uses the modern thing where much of the heads-up display is on the helmet. That's also a nice thing, is like for once it doesn't feel weird to be wearing a big like heavy thing on your head, because you're supposed to be wearing a big heavy
helmet. Yeah.
So it's got a really good sense of place and really good sense of like the lighting is actually a little better than I would say than the main game.
Interesting.
In terms of like how it's reflecting off the canopy and sort of like it's using the lighting to kind of sell the atmosphere better.
Cool.
And flying, it's got a really good sense of just speed and height and flight. It's great. The best part is because of the use of the HUD as part of the helmet, like, as opposed to kind of one of the frustrations when you first start playing a game like this, especially these, if you've never played before, you're trying to follow the guy you're dogfighting with, you're targeting, and he's off screen, and as soon as you turn and get him on screen, he's changed direction, you didn't know it, and now he goes right past you.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
In VR, you can move your head and look up and follow him with your eyes, even though the plane can't keep up.
Right.
So basically, you're following them like a real pilot. That's why the canopies are big bubbles in real life.
Yeah.
So you can look up and like follow him behind the plane, and you're basically steering your plane to like catch up to your eye line. And that is a uniquely satisfying experience that just doesn't, you can't really replicate that with a screen in front of you.
Absolutely.
With no thing. So it is great. The other thing is the kind of the epilogue at the end of the third mission hints very strongly that there's probably more coming.
So you think they're going to take those other 3 or 4 missions that were supposed to be part of the game and sell them as DLC?
I think they'll finish them later and sell them as DLC. Wow. Because if there's one thing Ace Combat does, it's sell you DLC. I feel like there will be more VR, and you'll probably have to pay for it.
That's a little dirty.
A little bit, but they are great, and I'll buy them.
Yeah, it sounds like the experience is worth it almost.
I mean, I would buy a whole Ace Combat game that was just that.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's a very limited.
I kind of thought that's what this was going to be, to be honest.
A lot of people did. My girlfriend certainly thought she thought they delayed it to make the whole game VR.
Right. Yeah.
Which I mean, that's a niche audience. Maybe it would have made sense if the PlayStation VR had sold like a breakout
or if Sony
hit
had
kind of
subsidized
thing.
it.
Or if sure. It's also noteworthy that there are no VR trophies.
Really?
Like, because they don't want to lock people that don't have a PlayStation VR out of getting the platinum, even though you're never getting the platinum because holy crap, some of those trophies. I'm like, nope, I'm not getting that. Not getting.
Just finishing this game, I think on normal or higher is an accomplishment. Like, let alone getting all the trophies.
And it is I don't know about the motion sensitive among us.
I'm scared. I won't even put the helmet on, man. I think as soon as it just starts, I'll just barf. Like,
I don't know. Like there were, I mean, a couple times in the really intense dogfights where it was just spinning constantly. I was just like, oh, that's a lot. Let's slow it down a little bit. But I mean, I feel like that's just, I mean, literally a minute straight of just spiraling to catch up to these fuckers.
I mean, that's kind of what, and then that's we were talking about this before we started the show today, but I was talking about how I played the multiplayer, and it reminded me of playing Star Fox 64 back in the days. Like any dogfighting game, the object is to get behind the enemy and then shoot them. So when you play multiplayer, it's just ships just doing loops and circles until somebody ends up behind somebody, and then they shoot. And I don't know. To me, it just... Well, I understand it's realistic, and that's how real dogfights work, but it's just, I don't find it all that much fun. I always felt like I was lucky. Like when I would get a kill, it's like I'd do a loop and I'd come down and somebody be there. And I'd be like, oh, wow, it finally worked out. I'd fire my missile and get a kill. Like I just never felt like it had that much to do with how good I was or how bad other players were.
And that's like one of the things I like so much about Ace Combat is how much you, like if you know about how to dogfight properly, like you can tear shit up. Like it's and it's even more true in the VR mode. I mean, I am honestly like... Is
there an online mode for the VR stuff? No.
I am honestly very tempted to
That might be something that they add for free.
That would be hard to pull off, I think. Be interesting.
It'd be awesome.
I don't know. I don't know how that... I don't know the technical of how that would all work. I did not find the Eve Valkyrie thing to be all that compelling. Yeah. Part of the cool thing about the VR missions in this is that clearly they're designed to be VR missions. So there are sort of sections, especially when you're first taking off in the second mission, that are designed to be like kind of like almost cinemas, like you're the
like an experience.
Yeah, like the base is under attack, and like you've got bombers crashing, being shot down in front of you as you're trying to get to...
And you get that whole sense of scale from it, and
So there's a lot of that. I mean, but also that's just me not giving a shit about multiplayer for any reason whatsoever. I have played a fair amount of the multiplayer in this one, just because you get massive, because you share the money you get to unlock new planes and unlock new parts. We didn't even talk about
the jet tree, actually.
The aircraft tree is taken directly from Ace Combat Infinity, the free-to-play game, with a lot less grind. Like, although there is a trophy for getting 40 million MBP or whatever they call it, which is like right now I'm at like 2.
Is that the platinum?
No, the platinum is everything, but like
right.
But like
is that like a gold trophy?
Probably. There's a trophy for getting 4 million. And there's a trophy for getting 40 million.
Jeez.
40 million would basically be like play 6 months of multiplayer or something. But like you share the aircraft tree and the money between the campaign and the multiplayer. And if I want a particular, like there was a particular mission where like almost every Ace Combat has a mission where they're like, yeah, you're pretty much going to need to buy the A10.
Yeah,
like,
the bomber.
The tank buster that just carries endless air to ground stuff.
They don't tell you any of that stuff either.
No, like well, I mean,
like they don't suggest like, hey, you might want to use this ship for this mission. Like,
I mean,
I hate the ground targets.
And you
missions.
even have to listen to like the briefing, which I find I kind of like. It was like if you don't pay attention to the briefing, you're not going to know what you need to be up against.
No, you're right.
And I'm like, sometimes I've replayed the briefing. I'm like, wait, do I need ground targets on this? Okay, because you got to pick what your special weapon is, and that's where you get your ground. Because you can still fire regular missiles, even
without
in the air,
your special weapon.
But it's usually better. Like the one I'm sure we both have in mind is like there's a ton of ground targets. You have to get like 17,000 points to pass it.
Yep.
And like the first time I tried it was just like with my standard like F18 or F15, and it wasn't working. So I went to multiplayer and I played like 2 matches, got enough money to buy the A10, slapped the four target like long ground missiles on them, and like just steamrolled it. Like if you have the right equipment, you're fine.
Trying those missions with a normal jet with missiles is a pain.
Yeah,
like
but
I
you
ended up
like
crashing like a billion times.
But you have to know that. Like you have to even have enough familiarity with like airplanes to know that there's the game does tell you that there's like there's fighters, there's multi-role, and there's ground strike. Ground strike craft are red, but there's only like 2 in the game.
It's like there's so much pilot chatter from like your teammates, but it's never helpful. It's like when I start that mission, why don't they say, hey, you probably should use the A10 for this mission, but you can probably make it work with what you got. Like something like that. Like there's nothing like that in this game. It's all banal, like references to a plot that I don't understand or don't even really want to understand.
They expect you to know what you're doing, which is
they assume a lot of the players.
Like I don't mind that you assume that in the 7th entry in a series, but like it also confuses me because I feel like this is going to be a lot of like mainstream people's first Ace Combat.
Yeah, for sure.
Like because I feel like this is probably going to be a bigger deal. And I feel like a lot of people like who might be into it if they were able to be eased into it properly are just going to bounce off it the way you did. And like you stuck with it longer than you probably would have otherwise because you had to talk about it on the show.
Yep. Oh yeah. I mean, once I got stuck on that one mission, and I literally did that before you told me about the triangle button. I had tried that mission probably like 20 times and just couldn't pass it because it's literally just the sky is filled with enemies and I couldn't lock onto them fast enough to take them down before the timer ran out because that was one of the timed missions where if you don't get it done in a certain amount of time, you fail it. So, yeah, triangle button. Why button? It's the key to this game. If you get this game...
Yes, being able to switch targets it's like saying the jump button in Mario.
Because they tell you that triangle switches targets, but it doesn't tell you that you need that to lock onto a target. You have to physically select the target before you lock on.
Yeah, that. I guess that's.
So I was tapping triangle, and the reticle was going like all over the place.
It would never ever occur to me to know that I would have to tell someone that.
But to me, in every other fight game I play, if I have missiles that can lock on, if I put my reticle over a ship, it locks on, and I fire the missiles. I don't have to hit a button to make it lock on.
But that's not how planes work.
Nobody knows that, though, but you. You're kind of a buff on jets and planes.
Well,
I'm not. I just play video games.
I mean, some of the weapons in the game do that. Like, if you have multi-lock-on, you don't need to target something to lock on. They'll just go like that.
Yeah, like the SAM or whatever missiles they are. Yeah, those will lock on.
Yeah, there are
but
certain
you only
ones
get
that are,
like 8 per mission.
Right.
Like I only use those when I really like.
There are certain ones that will do that. There's like the ground ones that one of the ground missile types that the A10 uses. That's just scorched earth.
Yeah.
I mean, you're done. They literally fly out and just go like they go over because those are great because they don't. One of the problems with using standard missiles, especially in that one mission, because there's canyons everywhere, is you're just hitting walls with them. Like you're locking on,
but you
have to. So like the ones that just go straight over and kind of like javelin style, like those are great. But again, I knew to use those because I know those are a thing in air combat.
Right.
You know, so it's weird. Again, it is if you've never played these games, one of the weird things to me is that they don't care about you.
Yeah.
So yeah, questionable. I mean, there's not even like a we're going to teach you to take off thing.
No,
like
they just are like, hey,
throw you in,
you're on an aircraft carrier.
which has never been done in this series before.
Landing, too, on aircraft carriers.
If you do get this on PlayStation 4 and play Ace Combat 5, Ace Combat 5's tutorial will totally prepare you to play this game. But it's like Ace Combat 5's tutorial takes like 30 minutes to play through the whole thing because they teach you how to do every single individual thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's what they were thinking. Maybe that's why we got Ace Combat 5 with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it feels like a big shortcoming to me that they decided to kind of not give any kind. I mean, it's not even like the tutorials have always been optional, but at least they were there.
Yeah, like give me the choice. Like,
yeah.
If I get into it and I'm like, I don't need this anymore, then I can just quit.
Yeah, it's super weird. It's super weird that that's the way it is. But
and it's also a genre that just doesn't come around very often. So a lot of people don't have a lot of experience with it.
There isn't anything else out there like this, really. I mean, the closest would be, I mean, you can't
That's a selling point for the game, too.
Yeah, but you can't even compare it to like something like Starlink or Star Fox because those are much more arcadey.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, you don't have to lock on to anything intentionally.
It just does it automatically.
It just directs you to the target. But even, like you said, in a lot of arcadey Star Fox style flight games, you can target something to help direct you to it. But if you see another target and you decide to hit it with a missile or something, you can lock on, but usually by holding the button.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird to me. That's the biggest shortcoming to me is that, and
it
doesn't even affect me because I already know how to play it. Yeah. But like, this is a game that could kind of like help make the series break out and maybe make it so
it doesn't take
Ace Combat 8 doesn't take 12 years to come out, and like they might have blown it. They might have blown it just by not thinking about those people.
That is something that could be added very easily.
Yeah, I would hope they would do that at some point. In fact, I think that would probably be a more important thing to add than more VR missions.
That should be the first DLC training.
Even the VR stuff doesn't have a training thing.
Oh, really?
So it's like, well,
and you have to play that with expert controls as well.
Yes, which is fine.
Yeah, it's not that big of a difference.
It's much easier to play that in VR because like you see and kind of how the plane's moving already.
Yeah.
The other thing is the VR missions take place after the campaign.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean surprise.
I'm assuming it doesn't spoil anything.
Surprise, the good guys win. But like basically, like there's still like rebel elements of the bad guy country that's like that are like raiding your side, and like so you go up to kind of intercept them, and that's how that starts. But it's implied at the end of the third mission that like we may have seen a brand new phase start in the war, a new war. I'm like, okay, well, a virtual war that's now reality. It's just like, I mean, that's about the level of writing in this game.
It is, yeah.
When it comes down to it. Yeah. And the VR missions are actually a little worse in terms of chatter because the chatter seems a little more like literally translated from Japanese, where you've got like guys saying like it's an honor to be up here flying with a real hero. I'm like, no pilot would ever say that. It's just not it sounds like Gundam dialogue basically, which is just not how pilots talk. But
so there you go, two different perspectives. One from a fan who's enjoying it a great deal. One from a non-fan who has enjoyed parts of it.
The other thing about the VR missions that I like is they show you. One of the drone thing is a big deal. The other thing is the high-level planes have what's called variable thrust. Like they have thrusters that the F-22 does this too, but the thrusters can change direction, so you can sort of like drift the plane. Like this is a real thing. Like you can literally flip the plane, and like the limitation is pretty much the airframe and whether you're going to pass out. But there's moments in playing the campaign where you're like, how did they turn around that fast? With the VR, you can follow them with your eyes better, and you can see them do these crazy midair 180 turns that let them like go to guns on you right away from like this crazy like angle right after passing you. And it makes me think the fact that drones and that kind of maneuvering is such a big deal in terms of the high-level stuff in the campaign, like, and the fact that it's so annoying when it's not in the VR mode makes me think like the VR had to be a bigger part of this in the original plans.
I think it had to be. They wouldn't have marketed it the way that they did initially.
It's I think there's stuff behind the scenes there we may never know,
or we'll see it as DLC.
Yeah, or maybe
we'll have to pay for it.
Hell, maybe Sony played this and they had like mainstream people are never going to give a shit about this. Like I don't understand what I'm doing, so maybe they scaled it way back. I don't know, but I mean I wouldn't say buy it just for the VR stuff. But if you already have VR stuff and you are interested in Ace Combat, absolutely buy the PS4 version so you can play
Yeah,
VR.
definitely. So there
Other
you
than
go.
that, you might want to look at if you don't care about VR, you might want to look at the PC version, because I have a feeling that you're going to be able to mod that into a better performing
for sure.
beast.
Yep. I mean, that's just PC games in general.
So
there you go. Ace Combat 7, Skies Unknown. Buy, pass. I think that's fair, right?
yeah,
All right, let's move on. We're going to talk next about the Division 2.
the people who care about that game already have it.
Yeah, they already have it. And we got a comment on
You don't
YouTube.
need me to tell me.
We got a comment on YouTube for, I think it was the PAX video where he picks very loosely like games that he thinks are like candidates for Game of the Year. And one of the comments was Ace Combat 7, end of story. So there you go. There are people that love Ace Combat.
I love Ace Combat. That's
No.
nuts. No.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
All right, we're going to talk about the Division 2 next.
It's the best game called Ace Combat this year. I'll give it that.
And we've kind of just organically talked about the Division 2 over the last couple episodes because we have been doing like previews and things like that, and talking about, and we did the draft, and it was one of the games that were drafted. But unfortunately, Ubisoft had a big media push for the Division 2 last week, and I think it was probably unpleasantly surprised to find that was the day that Mortal Kombat was also being unveiled. So this may have flown under the radar for all you guys, but Ubisoft...
I didn't notice.
Yeah. So Ubisoft did a big push for the Division 2 last week that all focuses on multiplayer. And let's be honest, I mean, anyone who played the Division 1, the campaign was kind of like... It was this thing that you kind of had to get through so you could get to the dark zone and not get destroyed. Like, I don't know. I felt like the campaign in the first Division was just completely disposable, completely unmemorable.
I don't remember much about it.
Yeah, because it was like you're fighting the same group of thugs like over and over. It's like, hey, there's problems over here. You go over, it's the same dudes and the same...
These guys have flamethrowers.
Right,
Now we're going to the mall.
Right.
It's gray and covered in snow.
Yeah.
How original.
Exactly. And I think what a lot of people hung their hat on with the first Division was, okay, well, maybe this campaign isn't great, but it's a game that has legs. It's something that I can play for an extended period of time. It was kind of one of the first games as a service, so to speak, at least from a major publisher. So I think the multiplayer in the first one or in the sequel is pretty important. Because especially after people played the first Division, I think they're going to be looking for, hey, what are the changes that have been made to the multiplayer stuff? Because otherwise, maybe they're not going to buy it. If they're looking for a game that they're going to pay for and then hope to play for an extended period of time. And so Ubisoft blew out the multiplayer for the Division 2. The big thing with the Division 1, at least the big talking point, and the thing that you and I talked about a ton on GameFace when it came out, is the Dark Zone. And the Dark Zone in the first one was this foreboding place where you could go and... Generally, people who had played the game more than you had a huge advantage over you, and it was kind of this Wild West where you could attack each other if you wanted to. The whole crux of it was that you went in, it was more dangerous, but the loot that you got from the Dark Zone was generally way better than what you were getting elsewhere in the game. So it was a risk-reward proposition. And I said that I didn't enjoy it all that much because I felt like every time I went to go extract all the gear that I got in the Dark Zone, someone would be waiting there to kill me and they'd just take it. And that was kind of the case for the first month the game was out, and Ubisoft made crazy tweaks to the game and ultimately kind of got it to a much better place. But I think a lot of people are like me. They played it the first month, they went into the Dark Zone, they either got their butts kicked or they did okay and someone stole all their stuff and then maybe never went back. So I think a lot of people are looking at the Dark Zone in the Division 2 as a harbinger of whether they should plan on buying the game or not. So... the first thing we should say is that there are multiple Dark Zones in this. There, instead of just one, there are 3 plus. So the 3 base ones, the environments are kind of different in each one. One's more of like a residential, one's more of like an urban, and then the third one is a mix of the two. I guess maybe that's like right on the edge of the suburbs or whatever. But things change depending on what you do in the Dark Zone. And I'll be perfectly honest. After watching all the media, reading the press release from Ubisoft, it's still extremely confusing, the different states that you're in when you're in the Dark Zone. There's like 4 different ones, depending on what you do. So when you go into the Dark Zone the first time, there's AI there, and I think that's a great idea. So when you first go in, you aren't going against other human players. You're going against AI, so it's PvE. And you do that until you establish a safe house in the dark zone. And then once you do that and leave, when you come back, you're thrown to the wolves, so to speak. So back to these states. So there's different states that your character can be in, and that controls whether other people can attack you or not, essentially, or who can attack you. And like I said, there's four different ones, and they're all reliant upon what you've done. So if you open fire on somebody, like I think in the first one it was you had to open an entire clip on someone before you went rogue.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is that, like, if you aren't rogue in this, you can't be attacked, basically. Like, because you could get hit by anything in the Dark Zone in the first game.
Right.
And if you killed enough guys, you'd be marked as rogue, because it meant you were playing, basically, you'd gone PvP. And if you were firing on anyone who wasn't also marked red, you would get the red mark.
Yeah.
In this, it looks like they're kind of doing almost like a Fallout 76 thing, where if you are not rogue, you do not have to worry about that so much. But you can intentionally choose to go rogue.
Yep. You can choose your whole squad to go rogue. If you hold the share button, you basically are making a decision for your entire squad, which I'm not a big fan of.
Well, I mean, we had that in the first game. One of our guys would shoot at somebody else, and we were all rogue now.
Yeah.
And then there's also other things where, like, there's drops, there's the airdrops. You can either open the airdrop and take some of the loot that comes out, or you can steal the whole thing, depriving other players of the loot, and that also makes you a thief.
Right.
Which is kind of the equivalent of being rogue. So then you become a problem, and then if you go rogue long enough, you become wanted. You become a manhunt target.
Right.
And then everybody can see you, and there's a bigger reward.
Your state will determine who can see you on the radar. So if you get to the state that Matt just said, everybody can see you as a red dot on the map, and then everybody obviously is going to come after you.
And then you get even more rewards if while you are in that state, you can clear your state using a hacked computer, or you can hack the computer to be inoperative, and that gives you more bonus, and then you go to another computer and hack yourself clean, and you get a bigger bonus for that. So, like, basically, they're taking the risk-reward thing and saying, like,
creating different levels.
You can basically quintuple down if you want to.
And it is all risk-reward. So the higher your level, your warning level, your rogue level, the better gear you get, too.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So the risk-reward is, okay, well, if I go completely rogue, it's going to be tough. But if I can somehow survive it and escape with it, I'm going to get the best loot in the game, basically.
Yeah. And the other interesting change they made was that the whole premise of the Dark Zone in the first game was that everything you found there was, like, contaminated in some way. So
you had to have it cleaned.
You had to get it out so it could be cleaned and identified, and then you could use it. You will find now in 2, you will find clean stuff periodically.
Yeah, just for being in the Dark Zone.
That you won't lose it if you die. Like, you can equip it right away. So that's a fun kind of twist. Like, sometimes you might really just instantly find something great.
I mean, it will incentivize people to go in the Dark Zone, like me, who did it a few times. I was like, I'm not going back in there.
Yeah, I like the Dark Zone, okay, but I was with a regular group, and, like, there were several times when we, like, we'd go to the airlift point, and, like, another group would be there, and a couple times you'd have, like, roving guys trying to steal stuff, but usually that was like 2 guys or something, and a couple times they came up, started shooting, and then, like, suddenly they had 9 people pointing guns at them, and they were just sort of like, yeah, we're out.
No, there are moments like that you can see what Ubisoft is going for with the Dark Zone. And honestly, by the time they had finished with DLC for the first game, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing in the Division 2 was actually in the Division 1. It's just that by the time they got it into the Division 1, there was such a small player pool left that only the corest of the core were the people who ever experienced it. So a lot of this stuff that's new to us as people who maybe played it for the first 60 days or whatever isn't really new for people who stuck with it all along. But I think that's the right move. It's like if you've listened to the players and you've obviously been playing the game yourself a ton, the tweaks that you make based upon that are probably things that should stand the test of time and be in the franchise over the long haul. So
And there's also the normalization thing.
Oh yeah, we should have brought that up. That's probably the biggest change. Because I was saying earlier about how when the first game you go into the Dark Zone, there'd be someone in there who'd been playing the game twice as long as you, and they'd have crazy gear, and that gear worked in the Dark Zone.
Yeah.
So if somebody had a crazy powerful gun or something, you go into the Dark Zone and you face them, they wipe you out. That is changed for this, kind of. So. It starts that way. All 3 Dark Zones are normalized. So all the weapons are basically leveled out. And that takes some doing. So we'll see how that's balanced. But
I mean, even when you do that, I mean, if anyone who played Destiny multiplayer knows that doesn't always work out too well.
Yeah, because because they're not going to take guns away from you. Right. You're still going to be able to use any gun you want, but they're supposedly nerfing them all so that they're all kind of on equal footing. But as you know, like you said, there are certain guns that are just, regardless of the firepower, they're just more effective at killing other people than other guns are. And so it'll be interesting to see if they can actually make it work. It seems like to me, anytime games try to normalize, like you said with Destiny, it never really works. It kind of works-ish.
It doesn't really survive contact with the enemy.
Yep.
The enemy being us.
Yep, exactly.
So it takes a while to get tweaked, and in the meantime, while you're trying to like kind of figure out the tweaking on that, your community is screaming at you about how you're terrible.
Yep.
So we'll see how it does. And then there's is it occupied Dark Zones? Is that what they call? So like that thing they even say in the trailer, like, we don't have footage of this yet.
Well, so after you finish the campaign. Mm-hmm. That's, I believe, when the occupied zones...
Yeah, Dark Zones will start to become occupied, and
they're like the old Dark Zones.
Yeah, when you go in, there is no normalization, and they're pretty vague on what it actually entails. But basically, the normalization goes away. Gear means what it means.
It's basically the old Dark Zone,
and like that's where the rewards are the biggest.
That
seems to be like their intended like real end game is playing occupied Dark Zone,
where you get the real good. But the other thing that kind of concerns me, though, is you already have the best players going into the occupied Dark Zone, where they are going to get loot and gear that is better than all the other loot. And it's like this self-perpetuating cycle of making the rich richer, basically.
Well, welcome to MMOs.
It's like capitalism in a video game, basically. The rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer.
Well, I'm never going to play any of that.
Me either.
I mean,
I'll never make it that far.
I mean, I doubt I'm even going to play the Division 2.
Oh, I will. I absolutely will.
It's just, that's an end game thing that I'm just never, I don't have a squad to be with. I don't care to do that every night of my life for the rest of the game's existence. And that's just, how it's going to be. Fine. If that's how it works out, that's cool. But there's still nothing in this that, like, catches my attention of, like, oh, I want to play that. I still feel like I've done all of it.
Yeah.
By playing 100+ hours of the first one.
It's certainly just tweaks. There's nothing revolutionary about it at all. I mean, another small note is that when you take damage in the Dark Zone, you need to use armor kits to replenish it, and it takes a good 4 to 5 seconds for it to work.
I'm just going to play Anthem.
What if Anthem does stuff that you don't like?
Well, at least I can fly.
That's a good point. And then... Finally, the other competitive stuff that they announced was competitive.
Right.
So,
like standard PvP.
But there's only 2 modes and 3 maps.
Well, I'm sure that'll expand.
There's Team Deathmatch, which they call Skirmish, and there's Domination. Which honestly, in most shooters, you really don't need any more than those two modes. Like, that's what the vast majority of people play.
Or maybe you could use a free-for-all
sort of thing. My bigger issue is 3 maps. Like, that's nothing.
Where's your Battle Royale mode, Division?
Yeah. I mean, it would probably work pretty well, honestly.
Yeah.
In this game. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all the information that they've given us. I'm surprised you have no interest in playing this at all, because you liked the first Division way more than I did.
I did. I feel like it's the same thing.
You got everything out of it that you needed.
I don't need to go back to that.
And I think, honestly, I don't think you stuck around that long, but for people who stuck around to the end of the DLC, there's really not that many tweaks to Division 2. Yeah. New setting, obviously.
There is a lot of stuff in the Dark Zones, the tweaks they're showing for the Dark Zone where I'm like, And I don't know how much of that is an overlap from the later, like the last expansion, where literally the expansion was the sewers bite me.
Yeah. Yeah, that was terrible. That's one of the worst DLCs ever.
But it's like, there doesn't seem to be any reason why they couldn't have been that way to begin with.
Yeah.
A lot of what they're doing here.
Yeah.
Which I guess is better late than never, but just looking at this makes me tired. Like, I spent so much time playing this game that I got like physically ill looking at the title screen after a while. It was just like I don't even want to hear it, and so no, I'm not gonna do this.
Well, it looks like I'll be jumping on that grenade then.
I'm not gonna do this to myself again.
It's going into beta, I think the first week of February, like February 7th or something like that. I think it goes into beta, open beta too. Everyone will be able to play. You're gonna have to play it, Kyle. When we get into February and there's not much to talk about, you're going to have to play.
A lot of stuff in February.
I don't know.
We got Metro Exodus. We got
we're going to talk about that next.
There's stuff. There's
stuff. But 2 games, and we have 4 episodes to get through. We may have to do some adjusting to your plan, maybe. We'll see. I'll definitely give it a run. So one of us will have the
just
the
looking
intel.
at that game makes me feel nauseous. Just from like it's like
it's so funny too because you liked it so much more than I did back when it came out.
I played it too much.
And I still have interest in checking it out.
I played it too much.
I mean, I've played a ton of Call of Duty, but I still play more.
Yeah, I don't care. Right. I don't like. It's just the same old. And if I really wanted to play something like that, I just put Ghost Recon in again. It looks the same as every other damn Tom Clancy thing they make.
Yeah, I mean that's probably by design.
Yeah,
it's a brand.
But maybe if I had some kind of attachment to Washington D.C. as a location, but no, just.
Have you ever been to Washington D.C.?
No.
Never. Wow. You should go to the Smithsonian. It's pretty amazing.
That is where I would go.
Yep. That's definitely it's worth a trip.
I feel like that's probably not in this game though. I mean, if it is, you're not looking at the dinosaur fossils too closely.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty accurate, roughly accurate depiction of DC. It looks like DC if you spend any amount of time there. They've done a good job of just the overall look of the environment. It's like I see it and I'm like, yeah, that looks like DC to me. So, it's coming out pretty soon, like April, I think.
Sounds about right.
No, March. It's March.
March?
Yeah, it's coming in March. So we only got a couple months to go, and like I said, the beta's coming next month, so we'll all be able to give it a go and share our experiences. So let's move on. We're going to talk next about Metro Exodus, another game that has been in the show for the last few episodes just because of all the pre-2019 stuff we've been doing. Previews, the first hands-on previews ever of Metro Exodus also came out late last week. Did you check any of those out?
I didn't even know they happened.
Yeah. Again, everything got overshadowed by
Mortal Kombat
MK11.
Mortal Kombat just sort of owned the cycle.
And deservedly so. And we're going to get to that next. But yeah, so they did a big preview blowout for Metro Exodus. And so remember when you drafted Metro Exodus on your team and I was like, that the studio doesn't have a great history. A lot of the games are really buggy and have all these kind of weird, quirky issues. Well, pretty much every preview that was published of this game talked about that stuff. Yeah. Not about how it used to be there, that it's still in this one.
Well, it's their first open world.
And if you think about previews, especially in 2019, back in the game trailers days, we would offer criticism in previews. We would always sort of disqualify it by saying the game's not done, it could be fixed. But we would point out issues in previews. That hardly ever happens anymore. But with this game, people didn't seem to be too nervous about holding back at all. IGN's video preview of this game was very discouraging. I mean, literally, like they start the whole thing off with like a list of like 25 complaints that they found playing it. So I'm pretty concerned at this point. And so this is a footage that's been officially released. Watching this footage, I'm a little concerned. It's like if you remember the debut, it was high action, high octane, really intense. I don't know. Is this doing it for you? What you're seeing?
I mean, not so much.
Yeah.
It looks like Metro.
I guess. Like particularly the outdoor, like desert environment. That is so not Metro though. This part is when you're down in the dark and you're using your flashlight and your goggles are fogging up and there's lint on your goggles. Like that's Metro to me. being out in the desert with these weird creatures coming up from the dirt, though, I don't know if
Well, I mean, you're traveling across sort of the steppes. That's pretty much where you are. I mean, to some degree, yeah. On the other hand, it's sort of like, well, I'm glad they're not in the frickin' metro system again because we've done that.
Yeah.
At the same time, like the setting sort of feels like, what if we made Rage 2 boring?
Yeah. That's a good way to put it, actually.
Like even the guys you're fighting here kind of look like the mutant guys from Rage.
Yeah, I mean, they just look so generic. And the creature design was one of the best things about the debut of this game.
Well,
Remember how
I'm
terrifying those creatures were?
Well, I'm sure they'll still be in there. I mean, there's a lot of weird creatures in the Metro. Like these guys are just like sort of
fodder.
Mutant, yeah. But like you're not looking at the demons or the dark ones or anything like that here. I'm sure that stuff's still in there. It's a weird choice to make this your big because like you can't do the whole it could be fixed thing in the previous because this game's 3 weeks out.
It is, yeah. Like they're playing basically a final build. And I mean, and IGN wasn't alone, although I would say IGN was probably the most critical, which is very rare.
So it looks like this may have been a poor draft choice, but we'll see.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. When did you draft it? It was like your 7th or 8th pick? Oh, it's your 5th. Oh.
In there. It's in the middle.
Once the draft is done, it doesn't really matter where you drafted a game. I mean, they're your 10 games, and that's that. So it doesn't matter where you got it? Not really.
That's rough.
I mean,
the way those guys got out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've watched a ton of footage of this game in the last week, and I've just been pretty much turned off by all of it.
Yeah, I'll still play it just because like I'm interested in the setting and sort of the world. Like I like the Metro games to some degree. I've never been a super fan of the.
It is funny how you pointed out though that the Metro name comes from like the subway,
right?
And now it's just the name. Like
I mean that's true of the books too. I mean they did. I think 3 or 4 books,
and they eventually got out of the.
Well, yeah, you can't spend 5 years just wandering around subway tunnels, like. But it's the name of the franchise.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, one thing I would say is it looks like the gun customization and stuff like that is something that's a little different, a little more robust than most shooters.
The gun porn is still in play, no doubt there. I'm interested about the survival elements because that was.
How about that animation right there, where he just went from crouch to standing up in one frame?
I mean, at the same time, it's like we whine about how there's no B tier games anymore.
We do.
Well, this is what they look like.
That's a good point. Except the problem is this is going to sell for $59.99 and not $39.99.
Yeah, well, so did all the B tier games back in the day.
No. I mean, PS2, toward like the last 3 years of the PS2 era, all the B games were like $29.99, $39.99.
Eventually, but most of the existence of video games, there was no difference between the
cost That's true.
Of a B-lister and an A-lister. That's part of the deal.
I will say this: it is coming out in the right time period. Because if it had serious competition,
it does have serious competition a week later.
Yeah.
But
and it is a shooter too, so.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at similar audiences between this and Anthem. I mean, I think if you're into the gun porn, this is your game. Versus Anthem, because Anthem's just nonsense.
I mean, this is even more so than like Call of Duty, the way that they handle weapons and stuff in this game.
It reminds me of something. I can't remember what game it was.
There was one other game. I know
a game where they hold up a gun and you sort of modify it like there.
What was it? It wasn't Black, was it? No,
it was more recent.
Yeah, it was. Someone will probably think of it in the chat.
Was it Bulletstorm?
No, that was more arcadey.
Yeah, but they still to me it's the holding up the.
People in the chat are saying this game's gonna bomb.
Might. It's the holding the game. Crysis did that maybe.
Did it?
Yeah, Crysis does that. Like where you hold the gun up and like you can like add the silencer and tweak it and stuff. Yeah, that's how Crysis does that.
Was that in Crysis 3?
There's like 2 and 3 at least.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I think it was.
Yeah. I remember a game that does it. I don't remember.
That was definitely how you modified the weapons in the Crysis games. Was he holds the gun up and you sort of like
see the parts being attached.
It's not as extensive as what was just shown there, but
I think one thing that can save this game is its atmosphere and its tone. These games can be petrifying and claustrophobic, particularly when that mask starts getting fogged up and you can't see and So it can be a terrifying franchise at times. And hopefully we see more stuff like this than the stuff that we saw a little earlier in the sort of arid, like, desert environment.
Yeah, I wonder if that was just a poor choice of, demo slice there.
You wonder?
Like,
It definitely was.
Well, in comparison to what else you could do. I mean, I can see why you'd kind of think that if you'd been working on these games for a long time, because it's like...
Let's show the outdoor
You want to show the thing that doesn't look like the other
Right.
games.
Yeah.
But, like, that was
Probably
not...
maybe not a wise choice. But it is an open world game, so we kind of needed to see what the open world was like. And
I just feel like, I realized that old trailer that was so impressive, the big reveal was not as, it wasn't a real-time sort of like thing that would exist in the game as real gameplay, which is what you want to show at this point.
Yeah.
But it was like it felt like a more comprehensive kind of vertical slice of what you're expecting.
Well, when you watch that, it looked more like a Call of Duty campaign. Something where
that is
everything's
definitely not what this is going to be.
Absolutely not. Yeah, and it may be a little bit of misrepresentation, but it's your debut trailer. You got to get people on board. I can kind of understand why they would do that, but yeah, I don't know. It's not looking too good for Metro Exodus right now. We'll see. They have 3 weeks to turn it around, Matt.
Yeah.
You get a lot done in 3 weeks on a video game. All right, let's move on to our last topic of tonight's show, and that is undoubtedly the biggest story of the week. Not the biggest game, but the biggest story, the unveiling in full of Mortal Kombat 11. Big event.
Yep.
There's like one in LA, one in London.
Yep.
I mean, they did not have
both sides of the planet.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. What are your initial impressions, Matt?
It's Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I feel like they're not reinventing the wheel so much as like sort of. It feels like they're picking the things that worked over the course of their like last 4 games and sort of cobbling them together and polishing them up until they kind of have the ideal Mortal Kombat approach.
Or what I think they're doing is that they're just incorporating a lot of stuff from Injustice. They've figured out what worked in Injustice and what did not work in Injustice, and then they're mashing that in with MK.
Well, that's what I meant. I mean, I said that like a week or two ago about like, I think you can count the Injustice games as sort of part of the iteration of the the Injustice games. They've alternated with the Mortal Kombat games in the modern era of NetherRealm, and each one learns something from the previous one, whether they're part of the same series or not.
Yeah.
And we're getting some, like it seems like they've listened to the community in terms of the complaints about the animation. It's still sort of got that stiff Mortal Kombat look to it, but like it's not as much like weird like idle stance things.
Yeah.
Like most of the moves don't feel like they come off the center of gravity incorrectly. There's the YouTube kind of the YouTuber complaint of the it's called fence punching, which is sort of where kind of that classic Mortal Kombat like high punch thing where like it looks like they're punching. It looks like they're punching over a low fence, which is like not how you. That's not how you bring power to a punch in any situation. So they've definitely put more effort into that, addressing that, and everything looks a lot better.
It looks great. Game looks awesome.
And it's got the visuals are still great. The gore is pretty much second to none. Although Resident Evil 2 is going to give it a run for its money, I think.
Yeah, I actually in the reveal for this, in the comments I did like a little semi-informal poll saying better gore, MK or Resident Evil. It seemed most people sided with Resident Evil. But not because really one was better than the other. They just liked how Resident Evil approached the gore versus how they did it here.
Yeah, well, Resident Evil is the current hotness.
That's so awesome right there, by the way.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
And he's fine.
Yeah, this leg just went right through his eyeball. Like,
the X-ray
on
moves
the back
are
of his head.
Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, it is really gory. But the one thing I would say that I like about this Mortal Kombat is that it's bringing back the humor a little bit. Like, Mortal Kombat X to me was just almost too much. I mean, maybe I'm getting, like, old and squeamish or whatever, but, like, remember we had that montage of fatalities from Mortal Kombat, and, like, it bothered me. Like, we watched them, and I was like...
I think you're getting old. I don't see much difference here.
I don't know. I think there's a more tongue-in-cheek, like, they're comedic. Like there's a lot more like one-liners and quips in this than there was in MKX.
That I think they are taking from Injustice 2, and one of the things Injustice 2 did really well was the personality of the characters interacting with each other.
Yeah.
Not just because of what they'd say, but what they'd say to each other. Like the fact that Injustice 2 had a ridiculous amount of character-specific one-to-one dialogue.
Yeah, like before fights, after fights.
Yeah, and just like individual things that they'd say to
just those
characters. Right. And it hinged on the relationship those characters had with each other outside of the game, and it was very well done. So I think they are doing that in this. Like there's not quite the rich tapestry of an 80-year-old comic book universe to draw from, but clearly
it's funny to say rich tapestry when talking about Mortal Kombat.
But clearly there's enough lore that you can make Scorpion is not going to say the same thing to Kano that he would to Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen Kano be in this as a playable character yet, but.
Yeah. Well, they've only announced 12 characters at this point?
It's like 24 total, and I think we know half of them.
Yeah, Baraka's back, which is a big deal. Fans have been asking for him for a long time.
The Bone Claws this time.
Yeah. And there's a brand new female boss named Korinka, which is she's like the main bad guy from the story mode. There is a story mode that I'm assuming is going to be just like Injustice, which means it should be freaking awesome. And then we were seeing earlier the character variations. So that's something that's been brought in from Injustice. There are 3 presets per character that NetherRealm creates. And then those presets will work fine for competitive play, online play. They're supposed to be normalized, like we were talking about with
those are also taken,
Division 2.
Those are actually taken from the earlier Mortal Kombats where they had everybody had different weapon choices, and then the PlayStation 2 original Xbox generation that everybody would prefer didn't happen. Those are bad games.
They were bad, That's where NetherRealm kind of lost its way.
But they've learned a lot, and people were a little uncomfortable that kind of thing was coming back for Injustice 2. They was like, I don't know, 3 versions of everybody, but they pulled it off. So.
And then you'll also be able to buy cosmetics. They're saying all the DLC is supposed to be just cosmetic, but people are concerned because there was kind of the ability to buy upgrades for characters in Injustice that actually made the characters better.
Yeah, but I don't think that worked in competitive.
It doesn't. And that's what they're saying. Those 3 variations that they created will be playable in competitive play. But the stuff that you do on your own will not be.
Yeah, that stuff.
And that stuff may actually help your character be more powerful.
Yeah, well, but you can use it for because look, if you really want a preview of this game, play Injustice 2.
Yeah, pretty much.
There will be, I guarantee you, there will be that kind of mission mode that Injustice 2 that had that every week they change it up. It was almost like a mobile game.
They already announced it. Yeah.
So it's
it's called
all that stuff is going to be very similar, and that's the stuff where you can use the things you can get to power up the character. That's where you'll use those because nobody cares because it's all sort of community versus environment.
Right. And they said environmental stuff is going to be a much bigger deal. Again, something that comes from Injustice. That was kind of one of its hallmarks early on. As you mentioned, you're talking about the mode where things come online for a certain period of time. That's called the tower mode. There's going to be 2 different towers in this game. There's going to be the Tower of Time and then Classic Towers. And like you said, they're basically challenges that you get that may only be available for 2 hours or 2 days or a week. And so it's kind of a way to keep people engaged with the game and always coming back to see, hey, what's the new tower challenge for today or whatever. I think the concern is pay-to-win DLC, though, with the variation stuff. But again, as long as they don't allow them in pure competitive play, then it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, you're not going to see that in online versus. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody minds having an edge on the kind of the tower stuff. That's just a feeling of growth.
Yep. There's a brand new mode called Conquer with a K that they have not announced any information on. Information's supposed to come out regarding that in 2 weeks or something like that. The biggest change that we haven't talked about, though, is the change to how the meters work.
Yeah.
They've split them. So it used to be that you had 1 meter that you use for both your offense and your defense.
Yeah. That was one of and I remember the first Mortal Kombat, the 9, the Return, basically. the meter being shared between combo breakers and supers basically meant that nobody ever used anything but combo breakers.
Yep, exactly.
Like, it was more valuable to break the enemy's combo than it would ever be to use an X-ray or anything like that. So I feel like NetherRealm has spent several games struggling to find a way to keep combo breakers and that kind of defensive option viable without taking away one of the big, hype moment elements of the game, the super moves, which this seems to be their solution to this, by splitting it into 2 meters, one of which is a cooldown, which is
There's a defensive and an offensive meter.
Yeah. It's a lot of the FGC, the fighting game community, is, well, we're gonna have to see how that turns out. The reaction has been positive from the people who played it and got their hands on it, but basically everybody was like, we got to take that cooldown meter into the lab hard and figure out if this is gonna balance right. So it's gonna be that's the other thing. Is even if it doesn't balance right, it ain't gonna be boring. There's a lot of stuff to learn about this game and how it's gonna play out when it reaches when it hits contact with the competitive community, and that makes it already a more interesting prospect than Injustice 2 was in a lot of ways.
They have made some slight compromises for more casual players. For instance, combos are a lot easier to pull off now, which may anger really good players, but chaining combos together has not been changed. So
the really good players will be able to use quirks of the combat to still do stuff that casuals could never dream of. So I think it'll be all right. Within 1 week, the really good guys, really good players, find ways to exploit this stuff that you would never imagine.
Oh yeah,
it's
like when I watch Evo.
Yeah,
and it's like they're playing. When I watch them play Injustice, it's like they're playing a game I never played.
Right.
I'm just wait a minute.
I mean, the first week of 10. Somebody discovered 100% combo with somebody.
They just wiped out the entire health meter with one combo.
I learned it, and I was like, I learned a thing, and I played with a couple of my friends, and then they refused to play with me anymore. So
and then they nerfed it 2 days later.
Yeah, and then it was gone in a week. But.
How do you feel about an impending NetherRealm story mode based on Mortal Kombat?
Cool. I like him. Do
you like the plot and everything? Related to MK?
Yeah, I think they're fun. I like how they how 9 sort of retold 1 and 2, and I don't remember a whole lot about the last one.
Precisely, really. Yeah.
But it's just fun kind of, it's based on those old kind of Enter the Dragon style cheesy kung fu movies. That's where they get them from.
See, that's one place where I think Injustice is better than Mortal Kombat.
Well, the DC universe is a more compelling group of characters than these guys are ever going to be. But I enjoy sort of the try-hard edgelord sort of, we've brought the things on your binder to life sort of element of this.
David Jaffe School of Game Design.
And they can get a little crazy. I mean, even Raiden's face here almost looks similar to angry Superman in Injustice 2, where he's just going to do the things that DC wouldn't let them have Superman do, or he's going to fry people and all that.
I think this is a case, though, where you have a video game franchise where...
I'm also curious...
When they created it, they didn't think about the fact of, you know what, this may go on for 30 years. Maybe we should make sure that our base backstory is something that makes sense and isn't ridiculous. Because I don't feel like this franchise, because it's
Save World, whatever.
But the story modes in NetherRealm's games are so good that I do care about the story in them.
Well, interesting thing about this one is that basically after you went through the last one more or less covered 3 and 4, involved Chinook and all those guys. This is the first one in the modern era where they're going to have to start making new stuff up. And so we've already seen a couple new characters. And I'm interested just because they're going to finally have to forge some new ground with the Mortal Kombat story, and I wonder what they're going to do. They've already got the time-controlling girl and that new girl that controls all the blood stuff.
Right.
And
the new girl that controls all the blood stuff.
Shao Kahn's back as a pre-order bonus.
Yeah.
And he's looking a little lizardy.
Yeah.
He looks a little Goro-ish. A little bit. Something's going on there. I like the batshit image comics sort of the 90s thing they do with these. They're forgettable, but they're fun.
I think what they should do is, like, in the first 5 minutes of this one, they should just have some, like, cop-out where they're just like, oh, all that was bullcrap. This is what's been really going on. And basically a real reboot of the franchise so they can actually have interesting stories going forward.
That was 2 games ago. They already did that. You can't just reboot every 2 games.
I think you can.
Just make up new story. Like, just keep going.
It's just so absurd, the whole setup of it.
That's the best part of it. It's ridiculous, like, weird kung fu mystical garbage. It's great. It's like it's the B movie to end all B movies.
I think after playing Injustice for, playing its excellent story modes, I just expect a little more. And I just don't know if this franchise, the way it's set up right now, is capable of even providing it.
Anything's capable of that. All you need is good writing.
Yeah.
You can make Baraka a good character. You just need to write him well. Like, believe me, there's characters that are good and interesting and fun in Injustice 2 that I have never found interesting in any other form.
Right.
Like, and they make them work because they had some talent going on there. Like, and they could apply that same talent to these characters, and some of these things are going to work. It'll be fine.
So there you go, Mortal Kombat 11. I think there's also an open beta coming for this.
Yeah.
And then it launches in April, I believe.
Yeah.
April 26th.
And then we get to start speculating about the DLC characters.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that John Wick shows up.
That would be a good ad, I think, actually.
The problem is that, like,
it strangely makes sense.
Well, and there's a 3rd movie coming out, so
right.
it would kind of.
The trailer for that looked good too.
The issue is that it is a Warner Brothers production. The issue is same issue with, like, because people have always said, like, why isn't Neo in it? Because that's a Warner Brothers own thing. The reason Neo isn't in it because it costs a lot of money to license Keanu Reeves' face.
Yeah.
That's why.
Which is why he wasn't in the Matrix games, right?
No, he was.
Wait, the first Matrix game he was not in. It was all those, like, big characters.
He appeared in it, and then in the second one you play as him, and he sure as hell looks like Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
Path of Neo. Yeah, I mean, that was part of the deal for making those games. But if you want to make, it's not a coincidence that all the guest characters in Mortal Kombat and Injustice have been costumes or makeup.
Right.
You don't need to pay anyone for the likeness to, you don't need to pay any actor royalties for the Alien or the Predator or Jason Voorhees or even Freddy Krueger, who's just all makeup. Like, but if you put, like, real people in, like, you're gonna have to start paying Keanu Reeves, or you make him not look like Keanu Reeves. At which point, what's the point? But I feel like maybe because John Wick 3 is coming out this year, you could maybe finagle a thing where, like, John Wick 3's marketing budget pays that fee, and you get him in as sort of a little promotional thing. That'd be a cool way to do it.
There's kind of similar characters to him already in the franchise, though.
Yeah, but he's such a big deal at this point. Like, and then you get a new movie. I think it would be a cool addition.
Yeah.
So that's my prediction: is we're going to see John Wick as DLC.
What's your hype level for this on a scale of 1 to 10?
Probably like 7-ish.
Me
like,
too. 7, 8.
Into it.
Yeah.
I would be more into it if it was Injustice 3 because I do, as much as I enjoy the story in, the Mortal Kombat kind of bad heavy metal comic sort of thing. The Injustice stories are bad. Injustice 2 story was like a lost DC animated universe movie that was honestly
they set the bar really high.
Honestly, better than a lot of what DC puts out in its animated direct-to-video stuff.
Right,
now.
that's what I'm saying. That's why, to me, the bar's kind of high now for MK. Like, my expectations of what I want from this are a little bit higher than they would have been. Well, I will say this, though. After the big blowout, I'm glad I drafted the game. I think it's going to...
I think it's going to score very well.
Yeah, we'll see. But I'm more confident now after seeing all this stuff than I was before then.
I mean, it seems very much in line with what I would expect NetherRealms to be doing moving forward,
Yeah.
And I'm sure Injustice 3 will look even better.
Yep.
Just less bloody.
Yep, a lot less bloody. All right, it's time for our trailer of the week. For you veterans of GameFace, this is the time to get your questions into the chat. And since the show's a little shorter today, we will answer a few more, so get them in there. Our trailer of the week is for, I guess I would say, the second biggest game that launched in the last 7 days. That's not saying much. Our trailer of the week is for Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes, which is a Switch exclusive, but nothing like the prior No More Heroes games. Well, the aesthetic is the same.
Yeah, but the gameplay is more like
it's like a top-down
Diablo-ish sort of
Diablo-ish brawler. Yeah, but I have not had a chance to play it. Its reviews have not been really good.
They've been all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, there have been some mediocre scores, bad scores, like higher scores that are like, if you like Grasshopper Manufacture, you know what you're getting into.
That's the case where the assigning editor probably gave the game to the wrong person on his staff.
Or even, like, I mean, a lot of the mediocre scores are also like, it's a Grasshopper game.
Yeah.
Like, you know what you're doing.
You know what you're getting.
If
It's
you
gonna
played
be
these
rough.
before, you know what to expect.
Style over substance.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
I still haven't quite decided, what if I'm gonna jump into it.
I've had money sitting on my Nintendo account literally for like 5 years.
Yeah.
$60 has been sitting there for forever, and I think I might finally spend a little bit of it on this game.
I mean, I love the first one.
I love Grasshopper.
I
hate to
don't
admit it.
like No More Heroes 2 very much. So this one, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know what to think yet.
Well, maybe this trailer will help you decide.
Probably not.
I think that might be the craziest trailer of the week we've ever had.
There's definitely the lure of it is like, how does that all end up in the same game?
Yeah,
Like,
it's like you watch that, you're like, this is the same game, all these different parts. That's Grasshopper, though.
Man.
Like I will say this about Grasshopper.
Suda 51 don't care.
He does not care
not.
about like game design rules or anything like that. That's one thing I will say about his games is you can expect the unexpected.
Yep.
A lot of games are like, okay, but that's not. We're gonna stay in our lane. Like he doesn't worry about staying in a lane.
No.
He's just like, I came up with this crazy idea, and we're gonna put it in the game. But that doesn't match. It doesn't matter. I came up with a crazy idea, and we're gonna put it in the game. So there you go. Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. I had hope for a lot more than what we got with that game, just in general. Like remember when it was first announced, I was really excited for it. I was like, oh my gosh, like.
Although to be fair, it came out faster than I thought it would.
Well, when we found out that it was like a top-down beat 'em up,
But
like
when they
then-
first announced it at that like Switch Direct thing, like he hadn't even started it.
yeah, remember
So
that?
they made this in like just under 2 years.
I think you can tell.
A little bit. A little bit.
All right, let's get to some questions. And like I said, we're going to answer a few more. So if you haven't put in a question yet, be patient. You can put them in now, and we'll probably get to them. W. Matthew, of course, we have to answer one of his. What's your favorite under-talked-about game from a prior era? For me, it's Crimson Skies. My favorite flight game ever.
Well, Crimson Skies
That's a good
is
pick.
really good pick.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the sort of cornerstones of games like that.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that flew under the radar that didn't get as much credit as they deserved.
Mine, I could probably list those all day. I guess I would pick, I mean, my go-to would probably be Dragon Force on the Sega Saturn, which is, the new Fire Emblem seems to be taking some lessons from it, but it's a strategy RPG, but you pick one of 7 kingdoms and basically have to conquer the continent. And the battles are, you have individual characters, but those characters each have armies of 100 soldiers and of different types. And it's kind of a rock, paper, scissors thing, or more like Pokemon, because there's like 8 different things that this beats that beats this. And you have to kind of pick their formations and then like have them charge in. And like, the battles actually last a while. And they have sort of this epic sort of like charge, and everybody freaks out. And like sometimes you can have dragons and vampires and demons and sirens, but all in addition to like normal like enemies. And like you picked the 7 or 8 different rulers, and each one is a totally different story that kind of comes together to explain the overall story together. And I must have played that game for 300 hours in college.
Wow.
Like I played that endlessly. It was fascinating to me, and I actually, there's a Saturn emulator now where you can just put the disc in the PC and it'll just play.
Really?
And it plays pretty well. And so I played it again, and I got sucked in for like 30 more hours. I was like, I got other things to do.
That's crazy.
But I would kill to see that game get remastered and released here. It did get a remaster, I think, in Japan on the Vita or the PSP, something like that. But I would love to see that game come back. So that would be that's one of the games I feel like a lot of people just don't know about, because they made like 1,000 copies because it was a Working Designs game on the Saturn. But it was fantastic. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
I could, like Matt, I could just name dozens and dozens of games like this. In fact, I can think of 3 just for the N64. The Rocket Robot on Wheels. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised you didn't bring that one up.
I bring that one up all the time.
You do, yeah. So. Space Station Silicon Valley, which was one of Rockstar North's first games when they were called DMA Design, and then Body Harvest for N64. Also that's DMA another Design. Underappreciated. It's kind of the first real Grand Theft Auto.
It's DMA Design's dry run for GTA 3.
Yeah, it was, absolutely.
Which Rockstar would prefer you not talk about.
Yeah.
Which I can tell you from experience.
It's so weird that they try to deny their past.
Well, that's the sad thing.
Their past wasn't cool enough, I guess.
No, well, this is the sad thing. Is like Body Harvest is really cool. A remaster would be great. A remake would be even better, but they're never going to admit that style of gameplay existed before GTA 3.
Yeah, and then going up a generation, Time Splitters is a game that I thought was really good, that was underappreciated. I mean, I could just go on and on. There's just, like, every console has at least, like, a handful of games that just flew under the radar, but that were still
and
great.
Things that, like, you're never going to see again because the licensing makes it a problem, like Beetle Adventure Racing.
Yeah, that's another good N64 game that flew under the radar. Absolutely. So there's tons. Majora Tom 91.
Crimson Skies, by the way, is available for like $10 on Xbox One now. So
it is, yeah.
Backwards compatible, and it looks great.
Yeah, it does.
It's really good, so I highly recommend trying that out.
I like questions like this one from Majora Tom 91. Which do you think is more likely to happen in 2019? All of Sony's current slate of upcoming PS4 games release, or Star Wars and Jedi Fallen Order actually release in the fall? Or 3 choices. Or Microsoft puts out a worthwhile exclusive game for Xbox One not named Ori and the Will of the Wisp or Forza.
I think Jedi Fallen Order coming out this year is the most likely of those 3 things. Yeah,
definitely. Yep. It has to. Especially after what just happened with EA and Star Wars.
Yeah.
There has to be a Star Wars game this year, and there's only one announced for this year.
Yeah.
It's coming. Like, if EA and Respawn have to hire another 100 people to come in and work on that game to get it finished, they'll do it.
Respawn will get it done. I don't know if it'll be any good, but Respawn will get it done.
Absolutely. As to your other stuff, the 3 PS4 games, that's probably the least likely.
Yeah,
of the 3.
Mean, Microsoft releasing a worthwhile, that's a pretty good long shot too. But I have a hard time believing that we'd see all of those this year.
I think that's the least likely because
you don't need that all of them. Frankly.
You don't really want it. Yeah. The third option was Microsoft puts out a worthwhile exclusive game. I think Gears 5 is going to be a worthwhile exclusive game. Is it going to be as good as God of War? Probably not, but I think it's going to be worthwhile.
Yeah, for certain definite. I mean, there's people that are just not going to be interested in Gears no matter what you do. But that's true of anything. I think Gears 5 will be solid.
And he must have forgot about Crackdown 3. I mean.
I don't think anybody forgot about Crackdown
3. Is there another game more worthwhile than Crackdown 3?
Bring back Fable.
I'm down with that. I have a feeling that is absolutely going to happen with one of these new studios that they just bought. Freeze Frame Rate with the great reviews of Resident Evil 2 out today on my drafted team. Which game do you think will have better sales, RE2 or Kingdom Hearts 3? It's easy.
I think that's Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, it's easy. It's definitely Kingdom Hearts 3, without a doubt.
You got a whole generation been waiting their whole lives to play that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to, I think it'll double the sales of Resident Evil 2, at least.
I mean, it is the number one question we got through fan email on XPlay. since literally the day Kingdom Hearts 2 came out.
Yeah.
Someone sent us an email saying, when's Kingdom Hearts 3 coming out? And it was the most common question till the end of the show 8 years later.
I'll tell you what blew my mind is last week Square Enix put out like a fan trailer for Kingdom Hearts 3, and we didn't curate it because it was all just like propaganda, like BS. We don't post everything. We actually do make cuts, and we did not curate this trailer. But I was taken aback by the range of people that were in it. Literally, you had 5-year-old kids. You had a 45-year-old dude. You had a 27-year-old woman. You had a bunch of tweens. I mean, it was just the gamut. That game is going to sell like crazy.
It crosses like demographic lines like nothing else.
They start getting those commercials running on TV. It's going to be a stampede to buy that game.
And let's also not forget, it ain't rated M.
Yeah, that's true.
There's some people, you've not that it's a reason to not do it, but like you've limited your audience to some degree just by being as nakedly gory as Resident Evil 2 is, which I love. I think it looks great. But there's people that I know will just not play that, but they would play Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to, I think, surprise people how big that thing is.
Yeah. I mean, I think Resident Evil 2 will do pretty well.
Oh, yeah. Resident Evil 2
it'll probably end up selling 5-7 million, something like that.
Yeah. Also, I mean, it's the first Resident Evil I've been interested in years.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would agree with you on that one. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But to be fair, Resident Evil has never been a gigantic seller. It's been a great seller, but it's not like Red Dead, like Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it's one of Capcom's bigger franchises, but like it's not Monster Hunter.
Yeah, they had to whore out Resident Evil 4 to like tons of consoles to get their money back on that game. So it's
I mean, that was partly a function of
GameCube
being GameCube. But.
Absolutely. Joaquin Dragoon, are you guys looking forward to Kingdom Hearts 3? You are. Yeah, you are.
I wouldn't say I'm missing it, Bob. I mean, I'm going to play it because I can't not play it. But, I mean, Kingdom Hearts is nonsense and has been for, like, some would say forever. I would say Birth by Sleep kind of crossed the line for me into, like, Birth by Sleep is a good game. But it hit the point with the lore where I'm just like, I mean, it's not that it's hard to understand. It's just convoluted, and there's clearly no plan, you know? And like, it's kind of like how Lost got, where you're like,
that's a good
look,
analogy.
dude, you're not, I know you don't know what the polar bear is.
Well, yeah, they just gave up on a bunch of stuff on that show. They never, ever, like, rectified, a handful of things.
Kingdom Hearts is like an anime written by J.J. Abrams. It's just a bunch of questions and weird things that like he's just going to worry about it later if he ever has to finish it. And like I don't even think this is going to fully end anything. People think that like Kingdom Hearts 3 is the end of the series. Like I mean, sure, I'm sure there'll be some weird teaser at the end where like they can. I mean, unless Disney's just like, please just end it so we can all stop talking to each other.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because it's the only time they have to talk to Square Enix.
Well, at the very least,
remember they set up that division just for that purpose.
Right. Well, at the very least, it's like, please stop letting Nomura do them because he takes a decade.
Yeah, at least.
If you want your game to come out while we're still young, don't give it to Nomura. Yeah. Is kind of the rule here. Now he's on Final Fantasy VII Remake, so he just can do that for the next 20 years.
Yeah. He may not be alive for the end of that one. Am I looking forward to Kingdom Hearts 3? Kinda. Not a lot.
I mean, it's more like a morbid curiosity, I would say.
I think that's what that franchise is in general for me. It's like, how are they going to... Oh, they don't really make it work? That's kind of what I thought.
No. The other thing about it is, like, I would be looking forward to it more if it had more worlds in it that were my wheelhouse. Yeah. But, like, it's interesting that Kingdom Hearts 3, if you judge it by the worlds they've chosen, Kingdom Hearts 3 is very much made for today's 12-year-olds. Yeah. You know, with like all the modern hotnesses.
Yeah.
Because that's the funny thing is I remember playing Kingdom Hearts 1 and thinking like, wow, we're gonna put Tarzan in this. Like, Tarzan's just the new boy on the,
right.
And now it's like not Tarzan's 20 years old this year.
That's crazy.
So now it's like Tarzan, that's a classic,
Yeah.
But I remember feeling a little weird that like they were putting so many recent movies into Kingdom Hearts 1.
I mean, that's what they do.
But that's what you have to do because that's what the kids are watching under.
They got to hook
their DVDs.
They got to hook this generation of 12-year-olds
right.
so that when they're 30 and Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out, they'll still want to buy it. It's crazy. Alex Sifted Mod, what's on your Super Bowl party food menus?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Sorry.
Oh, I make buffalo chicken dip for every football party I ever go to. So if I go to a Super Bowl party, I'll take buffalo chicken dip. And I highly recommend making some and eating it right now. It is so good. Buffalo chicken dip is the bomb.
We got we ordered sandwiches last night from a place called Fat Sal's, and the thing that my girlfriend got was they take like full like buffalo chicken tenders and they just put it in a sandwich.
Works for me.
It's like this. It's just buffalo sauce, giant chicken tenders, and you can get it with like the buffalo sauce and blue cheese dressing and the whole thing. And she didn't get it this way, but optionally you can get it with, I'm not making this up, mozzarella sticks on it and fries on it.
So fries, that's a thing in Pittsburgh from a restaurant called Primanti Brothers. On all their sandwiches, they put French fries and coleslaw on top. So that doesn't sound as strange to me.
I'm sure, yeah. But I've never seen mozzarella
sticks on a sandwich?
Mozzarella sticks is one of their standard toppings you can choose on their sandwiches. They're not named
no wonder
Fat
they're called
Sal's
Fat
for nothing.
Sal's.
Yeah.
I'll have to stop by there.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty good.
They're better in person than getting delivered.
Because it's all fried and it gets all congealed and nasty.
Yeah, it doesn't travel too well, but it still tastes pretty good.
Here's J Reed Vic 7. For me, Rise of the Tomb Raider is one of the rare games this gen where a sequel raised the bar and elevated a burgeoning series to new heights, like Assassin's Creed 2, Mass Effect 2, Uncharted 2, etc. Why does it seem like most sequels this generation have failed to do that, whether it's Wolfenstein, Destiny, Shadow of War, etc.?
I would say Shadow of War did do that.
With the Nemesis system?
The advances in the Nemesis system and kind of the larger scale battlefield stuff, I think Shadow of War did that. I think part of it is like, I think Rise of the Tomb Raider and Assassin's Creed 2 both benefited from the fact that in large part those two sequels were okay, the first one did okay, now you can make one with more freedom, a bigger budget to do all the things that you had to cut from the first game. Yeah. That was definitely what happened with Assassin's Creed 2. And I think Rise of the Tomb Raider feels much more like a full realization of what they were trying to do with the first Tomb Raider, but maybe we're still trying to figure out what it was going to be before they could do that. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, not so much. But yeah. I would say that happens more often than I would sometimes expect. I think Shadow of War pulled it off. I'm trying to think of other games that expand. I mean, Red Dead Redemption 2, but that was an 8-year development cycle.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea, interesting question.
I think it's just tech, honestly, because last generation was the HD era. There's a lot of innovation going on. There was a lot of game design innovation going on. You're seeing the maturation of the open world game. You're seeing the genesis of the game as a service. This generation, we never saw the leap technologically that we saw in generations prior, and I think that overall has kind of thrown a wet blanket on innovation in general.
Well, I think because if you don't have a 4K TV,
you haven't seen a lot of benefit.
There isn't really an innovation there.
And I think that's just kind of been a blanket sort of theme across the industry for this entire generation.
I tell you what I do hope gets a sequel like that is Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, I'd agree. The other thing I would say, too, is that the second of everything is almost always the best. So if you look at most of your favorite bands, their first album is what puts them on the map. The second album is almost always their best album because they know, at that point, they know what their sound is, but they've refined it and they found a producer who knows how to produce it. The other thing with music is that for a lot of bands, their first album is a collection of their first EPs or their first singles that they put onto an album. Maybe they add like one or two more tracks. The second album for a band is always a brand new collection of songs. Now that they've figured out the studio, their sound, who's going to produce their stuff, I think if you look at almost any entertainment medium, the second of everything is almost always the best.
Unless you're Iron Man or Thor.
Yep, look at Star Wars. There's another example.
Empire, yeah.
It's very common.
Not true in the prequel trilogy.
No,
but,
it's very common in any entertainment that the second installment in anything is the best.
It can be, but there's also the term sophomore slump.
Devil May Cry 2, an exception, obviously. but there aren't many.
I would argue Halo 2, which is mostly half a game.
Yeah.
That was.
I mean, Halo 3 to me is still the best Halo game.
Yeah, but that's the third one.
Right.
Halo 2, I thought was a letdown at the time.
Maybe I thought the story was maybe a little disappointing because of how they had hyped it up before it came out. Yeah.
And because it took you away from Master Chief, and because it ended suddenly. It was just like, oh, wait a minute. It didn't even have that level they showed.
I remember I went to Microsoft to play that live and for a review with like 20 other people or whatever, and I could not believe when the game ended. Mm-hmm. Because I looked over, and I think I was playing next to Dan Shu from EGM like the whole time, and he was a little bit ahead of me. I had taken like a lunch or something, and he was a little bit ahead of me. I looked over, and he was, I guess I can spoil it now, but he was in that part where you're just riding the Warthog through that crazy, almost like half-pipe thing. And then he like put the controller down and like just let it sit there, and I was like, oh, did he finish it? And I like looked away. And then I got to that part of the game, and I was like, there's no way this is the end. And sure enough, that was like the last sequence of the game. I'll never forget that. Like, yeah. But then, playing is... I didn't hate playing as other characters as much as other people did.
I just never found the Arbiter particularly compelling, especially when you got so little story. It's like my thing with that is like, if you're going to split that, you better give me double the content.
Yeah.
Or you better tell a complete story, which they did not. They punted because they knew they couldn't do it on the original Xbox.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. They knew. No matter what they put out as Halo 2, as long as it wasn't a piece of crap, it was going to make them a ton of money.
Halo 3 got it done in style. That was fine. But like 2, I played that co-op, and we were just like, really? That was really okay. I feel like that's usually tends to be more true of video games. Like the perfecting the second installment is. Because
the idea is not dead yet and tired yet.
Yeah, development is so iterative that it's like that's kind of your sweet spot where we proved ourselves and now we're free to do the things we wanted to do but had to cut for time or skepticism. And
almost all my favorite bands, their second album is their best one. Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique, hands down their best album. I could go on and on, but it tends to extrapolate across almost all entertainment for whatever reason.
I don't know. Movies, I think we remember the good number twos and forget the number twos.
Oh. The number twos. Let's see. Justin Horman. So these Sonic the Hedgehog Green Hill Zone scented candles recently went on sale in Europe. What's the weirdest gaming merch you've ever bought or been sent from a publisher? Anything you wouldn't actually advertise to your friends that is something you owned.
The weirdest game merch I think I ever saw was when the Take-Two sent you the razor wire Garrote for Manhunt. Like they sent you a murder weapon. Basically.
They did. I mean, back then Rockstar swag was insane.
Yeah,
like. They send baseball bats for Grand Theft Auto 3. Mm-hmm. They send weapons. That's what they used to do. They would send weapons to game journalists.
Weapons through the mail.
But the one thing that they sent me that Matt is talking about, and that was exactly what I was going to say too, it was like a piece of barbed wire with 2 like finger rings on each.
Yeah, like leather finger straps.
Yeah, and you could just grab it. And literally it was made to put around someone's throat and kill them.
Yeah, it was
and it came in like a little leather pouch. Mm-hmm. It would like roll up and then fold up and fit perfectly in this. Actually, it was like a velour pouch, like Crown Royal or something. Yeah. And I cannot believe. I still can't believe that they sent me that. Mm-hmm. That was for Manhunt, though.
Yep. There's other things. I mean, there's the giant floppy purple dildo from Saints Row 3.
Oh right, yeah.
that was a weapon in that game, and they sent out life-size real ones.
Dildos to editors, yeah.
We got some complaints to HR about that one. It's like we didn't sell. They sent it. We didn't know what it was till we opened the box. I have the Metal Gear Solid Revengeance press kit. It's Raiden's severed arm.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
With a USB cable coming out of it, and you plug it in because there's a USB drive in it. Like so, you plug it in, and like that's where the press assets were. I still have that because it's ridiculous.
It is so ridiculous. These companies wasted so much money on the dumbest crap.
Yeah. Those are the ones that jump out at me.
And then you get some, like I got some that were in like puzzle boxes, right? They're like literally made you sit there and like,
right.
It's like, bro, I need the code so we can play the game. It's like
or the we got a chain sword for Space Marine, Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine.
Yeah.
They sent a full size chain sword, which we thought was fun, but there was sort of this thing of like, and then what?
Yeah.
And then the other problem we had with that, because at the end of G4 we had to get rid of all the stuff. We had to get rid of everything.
Yeah.
So we were trying to give it away. The problem was we had trouble getting rid of the chain sword because we'd used it in this skit where Blair Herter fell in love with it, and like there was a scene where like he and the chainsword were all oiled up in bed together, and so it was still sort of slippery. It was still a little.
Yeah, I wouldn't take it.
And so everyone's like, no, and like you could never get it all off. Like the lube was still there, and you could never fully get rid of it. And eventually, one of the girls who worked in another department but did like LARPing, like cosplay stuff, like thought it was cool, and we're like, take it. and like we're like,
just make sure you use gloves.
And she's like, nah, it's fine. Like, whatever. So we took it. She took it. It's fine.
Let's see if we got some more. Do you think Final Fantasy characters will appear in Kingdom Hearts 3 from Les David? He also says Dragon Force and Saturn rocks.
So it does. Maybe. I don't know. They haven't really shown that, have they?
No.
Final Fantasy characters in there.
Nope.
I mean, if they do, it'd be like the other games, and it'll just be like a quick cameo here and there, like be like a Moogle somewhere or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be a little surprised if they didn't, because that's sort of that was sort of the original hook of the series. But I guess Sora and company have sort of come into their own as their own characters, so maybe you don't really need them anymore. And you're certainly not getting David Boreanaz back for Leon, so I don't know.
Another one from Majora Tom 91. Any games coming this year you think run the risk of bombing other than Metro Exodus? I think the Division 2 has a chance of bombing. Yeah. Relatively speaking. It's not going to sell nothing, but I think it could sell like 1.5 million or something weird.
Yeah, it's possible. I don't know. I'm trying to think.
Metroid Prime 4?
Metroid's not coming out this year.
Yeah, it's just a joke anyway.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff that we're just not even thinking of because it's not. They're not high-profile games, but if you're talking about like things that are like big games that like crash and burn, and we didn't expect, Division 2 could underperform. I don't know about bombing. Crackdown 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's that's gonna bomb. But is it a bomb and you have really low expectations from the beginning?
I don't know. I'm just happy to see the back of it, frankly.
Yeah.
Just get it out so we can clear the pipeline and start doing something new.
So we can move forward. Yeah, that would be great. All right, so I think that's it for the questions. One more thing before we go. First of all, so we obviously do our own fantasy draft, Matt and I, but the website and the rest of the world apparently has gotten in.
Really the new hotness this year.
Yeah, and no one's give us credit for it. Which, whatever. It's like, what credit are they going to give us?
Yeah, but, I mean, it's not like no one else could come up with that.
But nobody did.
Yeah.
And nobody did it for 4 years after we did it for the first time. And so, lots of people have started doing video game fantasy drafts this year. They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, so I guess I'll take it. But on the flip side of that, we have a league going on Sifted right now that has 11 or 12 people in it. And over the entire weekend, I picked like 3 games.
So it sounds like a league fully used.
We're picking exactly. We're picking on Discord, and so since people are scattered all over the world, it's like once it's someone's turn to pick who lives in Japan or Europe, depending on what time of day or night it is, it's going to be 12 hours until they make their pick. So our draft has been going really, really slow. But if you're not interested in doing something like that takes days and days, Lashik on Sifted has started. Actually, he started this last year, and he built like an app for it. And basically, all you do is you go and just pick any 10 games. You're not taking turns picking with anybody else, like Matt and I do, or like we were doing in the other league I was talking about a minute ago. You literally just pick the 10 games that you think are going to score the highest. And he did it last year, and there's a champion from last year, and we're doing it again this year. It is in the forums on Sifted. If you want to find it, it's very easy to find. If you cannot find it, just at me in DMs on Sifted, at Shane, and I'll point you in the right direction. But we have a ton of entries already. I already put my entries in, and it's very simple. He has built like a site for it already, where you just use a drop-down menu, and you just choose your 10 games and click Submit. And whoever wins that, I'm going to come up with something to give the champ so that it actually has some meaning beyond just having some fun. So like I said, it's in our forums, easy to find. If for some reason you cannot find it, just hit me up. We should be promoting it in the next day or two as well on the homepage, so keep an eye out for that. It's awesome, though. He actually went and built like an interface for this, which is awesome. And to all the people doing fantasy drafts out there, enjoy. It's a little disappointing that they are not at least mentioning us and saying, hey, this website Sifted started this years ago, and now we're doing it. It would be nice if somebody did that, but whatever. It's cool to have come up with something that you're seeing other people doing and enjoying, so be it. That's the way it goes.
I'll give you a game that might bomb. Rage 2.
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, it's just sort of how Bethesda's
game.
stuff rolls. I mean, not to say it's going to be bad and bomb, but I feel like Days Gone might underperform. Like I don't know how much.
It's going to be a pretty big drought between PS4 exclusives, like big time PS4 exclusives. Somebody on YouTube also gave me crap today because Days Gone was like number 18 out of 20 on, and I was like, it barely made it in, bro. And he's like, that should be in the top 5. I'm like,
that's ridiculous to me. It's such an uninteresting looking game to me.
How it is.
It's wow. I mean, I'm not going to play it because.
Well, yeah, we're going to play it.
What
it's
else?
a first party Sony game.
But
of course we're going to play it.
Woof. Like it looks like it's just created from the parts of lesser games.
Yeah, I guess my point is that there are still true believers out there on that game. Oh yeah,
but that doesn't mean it's going to sell. I mean,
that's true.
Oh, again, be like a Division 2 thing where it's like it just underperforms.
It'll still sell okay. Yeah. All right, so that's it for GameFace episode 154. Thanks for watching, everybody on the stream, for asking great questions at the end of the show. Everybody watching on YouTube, thank you for your support. As I said at the beginning of the show, it would be awesome if you could kick us at least $1 a month on our Patreon. It's $1, and it would make a world of difference to us. If all you guys gave us $1, our world would change. It literally would.
Shane wants his $2.
Yeah, what was that from? Better Off Dead?
Better Off Dead, yeah.
Another classic. But if you can't do that, please hook us up with Twitch Prime. The instructions are in the directions below. It's very easy. If you've already connected your accounts, it literally takes 3 seconds. But you do have to do it every month and re-up it. But those of you who are doing that already, thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it, and it is making a difference. So big changes coming to our Patreon this week. Keep an eye on it. Once we have it all done, we're not going to do it all at once because of kind of the way Patreon works. You kind of do stuff like that in shifts. So it's going to be a gradual rollout throughout the rest of the week. But once it's all done, we will promote it on Sifted, and you guys can go check it out. So thanks to everybody for watching. No matter you're watching on the stream, you're watching on Sifted, you're watching on Patreon, you're watching on YouTube, we love you all. So thanks. Have a good night. GameFace is up and out.